We're live.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our special continuation of our special meeting of the West Valley Water District Board of Directors. Today is Saturday, June 6, 2020. It is approximately 10:30 in the a.m. With that being said, let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next up is the invocation by Pastor Harry Branton from Greater Faith Grace Bible Church in Rialto.
You want to go ahead and ask him to unmute himself? He needs to unmute himself.
Okay.
Will you unmute yourself, Pastor?
Hello, Pastor Bratton. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, we'd appreciate that.
Oh, okay. He's got his hand raised.
Perfect.
Okay, I got it now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Pastor Branton. Thank you for being here with us this morning.
Okay. Yeah, okay. God of all wisdom, come to you this morning just to pray for the Western Valley Water District. Thanks for all the board members and their time and dedication. I pray, God, that you would touch them and bless them as they navigate through all the decisions, all the programs and projects and necessary for the community. And I pray, God, that you help them to have the same mind and the same spirit to do the work you get, oh God. I know that sometimes we have other personalities and different backgrounds. And I pray, God, when they don't see eye to eye, they can still know that we can sit together, Lord God, and know when to be firm and know when to be flexible. Father, guide them in their decisions. And all they do, Lord God, I pray that it help them to provide all the needs, all the things for our community. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 With that being said, roll call of the board members, Secretary Ashe.
Director Dr. Michael Taylor,
Present.
Director Greg Young,
Here.
Director Dr. Clifford Young,
Here.
Vice President Kyle Crowther,
Here.
and President Channing Hawkins.
Here. Okay, next up, adopt the agenda. Oh, we don't have to adopt, we are already, yeah. Okay, so, public participation, and we only have one person, Mr. Navarro. Director Navarro.
Good morning, Board of Directors. This is Nasim Faruqi. Director Navarro did submit a public comment that he would like me to go ahead and read into the record. He is online, and I did ask if he wanted to read it, and he asked that I go ahead and read it for him. Public comment, Board of Directors meeting June 6, 10 a.m. My name is Gil Navarro, and I'm a Water Board Director with the San Bernardino Municipal Water District, Division 2. I am speaking in my own behalf. I'm sharing with you some information that was discussed at our Board of Directors workshop resources that may be associated with your discussion of budget concerns. Over the last few years, the Valley District has seen a decrease in participation in rebate programs and reimbursements that we offer. In order to better understand the reasons for the decline in participation, Valley District will perform a Valley District Efficiency Community Assessment. This assessment will help Valley District better understand the water use efficiency saturation levels for the communities we serve, identify barriers that may be inhibiting higher rates of participation, and identify strategies to increase our participation. Thanks for listening. And that's all the public comment we have for today. We don't have anyone else from the public on Zoom. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. With that being said, get right into the discussion. Good morning, board and residents, staff. I have a brief opening statement before we get into the budget, and just wanted to remind you, as your CFO for the district, it is my responsibility to provide the board with reliable financial information so you can make the best decision possible for the ratepayers and the district to sustain us through the uncertainty of this COVID pandemic that we're experiencing. With that said, the budget before you is one of the most conservative budget we've seen in recent years. It is not, wasn't an easy task, but staff and I was able to provide you with a focus on needs versus nice to have. It provides continuous funding for operations, and it satisfies all of the regulatory and reporting requirements and provides for infrastructure expansion and continued maintenance. The proposed budget funds full-time employees, a 10% reduction in revenue and expenditures district-wide, satisfied the bond covenant ratio of 1.2, the minimum bond covenant ratio of 1.2%. It's a balanced budget, and it also satisfies or applies some funding to our debt service and also some CIP funding. With that said, I am here to take any questions. Short and sweet. Short and sweet. To the point.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Ricky, for all the hard work you and your team have put into, in particular, getting me the kind of level of details that I asked for this year. I know it wasn't easy, but I appreciate your effort and everyone else who helped you, John, in getting all that information, because it is very helpful, especially when we are faced with having to create a very, very tight budget, because we anticipate that revenues will decline because of some of the things going on with COVID and other factors. So I first of all just want to commend you and all the managers for all the hard work you put into it. I'm going to be brutal today, as I've always been brutal to most of you most of the time in this type of a meeting, but just because we're trying to shave every little penny we can. But I do want to just stress that I am very grateful for all the hard work all of you put into this so far. So I just want to first start off by saying that.
Thank you.
And I had a couple recommendations that I want to throw out to the board before I get into the details, because there were three things which I've been talking to you, Ricky, about that would, if we adopted all three, and again, I'm just putting this out there. You can throw stones at me if you want and say, no, that's a terrible idea, but I'm just throwing that out there. But collectively, if we adopt three simple measures, it would save us about close to $350,000, okay? So item number one, and Ricky actually kind of led the way here with his departments, he completely eliminated, if not slashed in half, all overtime within his departments. But I think it would be a noble and achievable goal to say to all the other departments, cut your overtime in half. And to put the pressure on you as managers and your supervisors to diligently manage overtime. And we've had discussions here on the mid-year budget where it seemed like overtime's just kind of allowed to happen, and it maybe some departments are managing it well, but others aren't. And what I'm recommending is say, you know, we're in tough times right now. Overtime will always happen, I mean, especially on the production side. But through thoughtful planning and learning from what happens, we can try to reduce that number down. So I'm suggesting a 50% of what we had last year for overtime for those departments as an achievable goal. And to that point, a monthly report to the board. It can be a consent item, but simply saying, this is how much overtime each department had, and more importantly, what the managers are instituting as action plans to try to reduce that in the future. So, you know, overtime is gonna happen. You know, if a water main breaks in the middle of the night, we're gonna have overtime. But if there's things we can learn from those examples to maybe adjust shifts or, you know, focus on certain types of maintenance to prevent, you know, late hour breaks, I think that we can put a little more onus on the departments to kind of take ownership of trying to control that overtime number, because that's a big number. That's $170,000 we can save right now, just in one quick swoop.
Mhm.
But I want managers and supervisors to take ownership of making sure that they control that and that they come up with action plans to try to control that. So that's my first recommendation. You can throw water bottles at me if you want.
Well, Director Young, I'm in agreement. I mean, I saw particularly in the administration, there was consistently overtime in non-operations positions, receiving overtime, and, you know, it's come up in the HR committee that there have been a use of overtime that I don't believe is appropriate for certain types of positions. I know that we've had some influx in some of our administrative positions, but the use of overtime that I've seen is, I'm in agreement. Thank you for your leadership on that issue, Director Young, that we need to look at that, and it's something that we need to, and I just want to add one caveat. We can have it as a consent item for the board or report item for the board, but it needs to come to the HR committee as well.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm just saying, just as a practice of, because I know at the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
you know how much overtime my CFO lets our departments have? 1%. And every time we use it, we have to justify it up to our associate administrator. I mean, that's how strict they are about overtime at a hospital that operates 24/7. So I think it can be done, and I think, again, just having that accountability to, as President Hawkins says, the committee, but also to the board, that yes, this is some of the overtime we occurred, these are the reasons why, but most importantly, this is what we're doing moving forward to try to reduce the frequency of overtime.
And Mr. General Manager and CFO and HR isn't here, but particularly Mr. General Manager, this is something that we're going to expect that you're keeping a hold of and handle on. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes. All right.
Okay.
Well, your point number 2, Alex, is
Well, I
back to
mean,
you.
does any other directors have any other thoughts, or are you all okay with that? Okay, all right.
Good. Let's go.
Okay, so my second one, this one's gonna be a little more dicier, so I'll duck. You know, it's something which I actually voted against because I didn't quite agree with it at the time, but it's a nice to do, but I think given the difficulties we face, it might be worth maybe suspending for at least this fiscal year. Is one of the things which we instituted about a year and a half ago is matching on employees' retirement up to a certain dollar amount. That is also worth about $170,000. Now, most agencies don't match in this way. Some do, but the majority of agencies don't. And I'm just throwing this out there again. I'm just trying to look for places to save. Is that something the board would maybe want to reconsider?
I have a question on that. You and I talked about it, but I do have a question. Ricky, are our employees taking advantage of that program or not? Do we have employees that?
Yes, we do. But word of caution is, you know, in order for us to attract and retain the employees that we currently have, we need to definitely consider these actions.
Well, hold on. What's the percentage of the match?
It's $75 total per employee.
$75.
If the employees contribute X amount of dollars, they get a match up to 75,
But that's per pay period, right?
per month.
Oh,
Per month.
Per month or per pay period?
I think it's per month.
It has to be on the.
Ricky, I think, in following up on Greg's concern, just come back with the data on it. I'm not necessarily inclined to really, I have to know more, but, you know, our employees work very hard here and they do a great job. And so, you know, I wanna know more, but I'm not inclined to,
I support.
the first one I had a hallelujah, this one I'm like,
I knew this one would be a little
no,
sticky.
we'll look at that. We'll
I
see.
supported
We'll
it
see.
when
We'll
it
see.
started, I continue to support it, so.
Yeah, I'm not, we'll see.
That's where I am.
Let's get some more information, find out what's going on.
Because
Yes.
when people come to retirement, that is very good for them, so I'm in support.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, I think in years when financially we don't have issues to worry about, I wouldn't even bring it up. I only bring it up just cause I'm looking for every place we can possibly cut. Now the third one, which I wanna bring up, is one related to us. And one of the things that the board did was vote in to where, our fees get automatically updated every year. I think that if we're asking everybody else to take a cut, that we should show the example and, rescind that for this year.
Greg, you're just going back in the barrel, and.
I'm looking for every place to cut.
No, you're going back in the barrel with things that you didn't support, in the past and trying to get them passed now, come on,
No.
let's be
Okay,
realistic.
well, alright, well, the board will give all due consideration. Alright, you got a fourth, cause I have some.
Well, but those were the general ones,
All right.
and I have specific.
Alright, I wanna get to my general, one, general is in regard to our, particularly in our, professional services contracts, I see a number of items, in those, the ones that are related to, you know, if you can review the ones that are related to operations and engineering. But I feel pretty comfortable after the GM and the the CFO and the members of the committee advised me regarding those contracts, just where they stand and the need. However, some of the other, what I would consider more ancillary professional services contracts, you know, our lobbying and other ones, I wanna look at, you know, one, I want a proper listing, and then, and I think in this day and age, and that in this organization, our managers who are managing these contracts have not always done a good job of being stewards over and monitoring these contracts and ensuring that we're getting the value that we're paying for. And I wanna make sure we don't have contracts where we're just, you know, there's a set amount and that's the set amount we're gonna spend. If people need to come back to the board, but we need to look at, a 10% across the board, not regarding necessarily engineering and contractors and things of that nature. Does everybody understand I think I understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Linda, you understand what I'm talking about? But other kind of more
On call.
other stuff that we can look at 10%, you know, I'm not saying in this day and age, people are, you know, completely dismantling or not reauthorizing it, but I think in our budget, we can tighten our belts, and I think 10% for those types of contracts, and our budget is not too onerous for those outside contractors.
I agree, and just to give you a little bit of insight, the budget that I presented, I've already reduced that area by $321,000. So I am going to go ahead and take another 10% off of that.
Well, right, but but we wanna be surgical, we don't wanna use
Well,
a
yeah.
hammer. But there's certain types of contracts, there could be, the security and, public relations, others, that we can have it at a 10% reduction as far as our allotment, and if the board needs to, other lobbying, lobbyists, things of that nature, that we can look at a 10% cut, and if staff and as the agency needs, and we need to come back to the till because of some, they're running out of money or whatever is going on, it's incumbent on the GM and the managers to manage those contracts.
I agree.
That's their job, and right now we kind of just put a set amount of money. It's not clear as far as what we're getting out of, it's not always clear how they're being managed, and it's incumbent on our managers to manage if they're having those contracts assigned to them. And like I said, a lot of the cuts that I understand you to have made, Ricky, and where you've made them, you explained that, when it comes to, like I said, engineering and some of those other things, I'm not as hot and heavy over those. What I am, though, those other support to services kind of contracts, let's look at that. 10% where we can.
Okay.
Also, and when we're looking at the contracts, we discussed offering blanket contracts so we can get savings rather than have to go out every time we have a particular blanket contract. I think that would help administration with Linda's unit, where we just issue, we've been using them for 3, 4, 5, sometime of 20 years, is that we just put together blanket contracts so we don't have to go out every time and see it, and that should be a savings to us.
Yes, I totally agree.
The term is blanket. What's the term?
After the budget is adopted, a blanket purchase order, or blanket.
Oh, purchase order,
Yeah,
okay.
would be for, the same service, for, an extended period of time, maybe a year, period.
Mhm.
But that is very advantageous, because if we provide, a continuous service, then the intent is to reduce the cost, right? So if you have this service continuous, the vendor knows that they have work ongoing, the cost of doing that service would be cheaper versus going on an as-needed basis, because then they tend to charge you more for one-time, repairs, maintenance, what have you. So in July, hopefully after the budget is adopted, I've asked my staff already to come up with a list of vendors that we use on a regular basis, an annual basis, to come to the board and bring annual agreements for those functions.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Thank you,
giving,
sir.
I don't want anybody to think we're giving out a blanket contract, to see how that.
Blanket purchase.
Right, I
Just
see
the
how
term.
that'll work, that can.
That's a standard thing to do.
It's a standard thing, and I don't want anybody to misunderstand on accident, and I don't want anybody to misunderstand on purpose.
Yeah.
All right, I have one other note, I think we already talked about, okay, I'm okay.
I'm accepting most of the CFO's recommendation, and when I say we've made some revisions this morning, is that we make those revisions so we can come back and adopt the budget.
Okay?
But we need to see them, we don't.
So, yes, what I will do is I will go back, I have some homework to do.
Right.
I am not going to prepare the budget, because it's gonna be.
I'm not asking
Yeah.
that.
So I will recompute some figures based on the direction I received, and come back with a summary of how it impacts what this proposal, is saying.
Okay, what be your timeline on that?
I would definitely recommend that we do it in the upcoming week, because, I would like adoption before the end of June.
So you wanna-
Wednesday or Thursday. You guys around,
I got,
hold on.
I think I have 2 meetings this week, External affairs, right, when is that?
And then
Thursday.
Finance Committee.
Thursday.
Wednesday, okay,
Yeah, but Wednesday we have engineering and planning,
What time?
6 o'clock.
External
Finance, yeah,
affairs,
Finance Committee.
external affairs is on Thursday, but finance is Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay.
Finance and engineering.
Well, but
Finance and engineering.
finance
It's
is
during
in
the day.
morning, so the evening is free.
Yeah, but the evening isn't free, cause that's when engineering meets.
On Wednesday?
Finance is, I think, 1 o'clock. on
It's one,
Wednesday,
yes, it's one.
And then engineering is 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And what did you say was on Thursday?
I can do Thursday.
Thursday.
I can't do Thursday.
So we
About Friday?
Friday? I can't do Saturday.
Friday?
I could do
Friday,
Do Friday.
Can we do
it's
Tuesday?
okay, we can't do Thursday, Tuesday,
I know
Friday.
it's short, but
Friday.
I would
or
say
Tuesday.
Friday, cause you haven't seen all the changes I'm recommending.
All right.
okay, oh, okay.
So
You're gonna
Friday,
need more time.
Friday, on Juneteenth, we can have it.
Got it. Friday's good.
Friday's not Juneteenth.
Yeah, it is, it's the 9th, June 12th, oh, I messed it up.
You're a week
You're
off.
in the wrong
Yeah,
week.
I'm in the wrong week.
With Juneteenth, I would ask you as president to bring us some barbecue ribs.
June, yeah, it's not Juneteenth. We will not be set free on the 12th. Okay, the 12th, we got it. What else do we need? Well, we're getting into the details, let's go.
Let's
But,
let him bring the revisions back.
Oh, no, but he's gonna wanna.
He wants, yeah, let him, let's do
Cause I'm
our
gonna have a lot of
job.
revisions.
Okay, okay, Greg.
Do our job.
Sorry.
Then I got one of mine we rolled over from.
What time on June 12th?
You know,
It'd have to be the evening, cause I work.
6, Friday night.
It's,
You guys gonna get me in trouble.
night, and then-
Well, it's no date night right now, so I'm alright.
Talking Friday,
Yeah, they did
you're
see it.
saying Friday, we have to do it Friday night.
We can
You can do it a little earlier.
Well, Friday at 6 is fine, it's that fine.
That's
it's
my
fine.
family night out.
Well, it's alright, it's alright, we'll get this done. We will get it done.
Alright, so Ricky, if we can go into the detailed, I wanna ask you on the operating revenue, page 1. The Chino Basin water rights that we normally sell, cause I know that weren't we looking to contact, Cucamonga to see if they were even interested in this year's amounts?
Yes, there are 240,000,
Yeah, so they are interested in this year's.
yes.
And so hopefully they'll be interested in next year's too. Okay. Cause I know that we were a little worried that they hadn't contacted us yet for this year.
Yeah, Joanne reached out. so
Okay.
Thank you, Joanne.
Perfect. Alright. Moving on to page 2, other operating income. Can you explain to me, people probably explain this, but you know, you gotta refresh once in a while, but the administrative fees, section 2017? Cause I'm looking at the actuals on
Are
that
you on the
one.
summary or the detail?
I'm on the detail,
Oh, sorry, okay.
page 2,
Okay.
2 of 60. And the 2 previous years, it was fairly substantial, but this year, it didn't look like we really brought in as much. We only brought in $6,721, and we budgeted $200,000.
Oh, and where are you looking at? Which one is that?
Administrative fees, section 2017. Normally, we have a pretty decent income on that one line. I was just curious as to if you could explain what happened this year.
I'm still trying to find it.
I'm trying
It's
to.
It's like the 5th from the bottom.
Yeah, it's towards the bottom.
3, 4,
Last
5.
year, or in 2018, we had 318,000. Last year, we budgeted 200,000. We've only brought in $6,721.
That I will have to research. I
Okay.
don't have the detail. The details should be in the second page.
What is the administrative fees?
Well, but that's also another thing. Can
Yeah.
someone remind me what
What are
that is?
administrative fees?
Because again, you're budgeting 180,000 for next year, and since we only brought in 6,800 this year, I'm kind of a little worried.
Yeah, there's, those are ancillary fees that we collect for various activities based on what we bill.
But again, if you look at the
Services.
two, at the prior year, we had 318,000. So what happened this year is kind of what I would like to know. So
Okay.
if you could look into that.
Will do.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Wait, hold on. John is moving over there if he has an answer.
Oh, okay, so John just helped me out here.
Okay.
It's a timing issue for, projects that are closed out, so that's why it's probably really low, because, in June, this month is
So
when we would,
it'll get all dumped in this month.
it'll get journal entered in, yes.
Can we maybe get an estimation of what we should expect for this year that will get added? Because again, I just want to see, because last year we budgeted 200,000. I mean, are we going to be close to that 200,000 by the time it all gets dumped in? Because again, you're projecting 180 next year, so I just want to see that we're in the same ballpark here.
I can work on an estimation for what's gonna,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
On that same page, Ricky, are we on target with our UGC, reimbursements?
well, I don't think so, because, we've just, and Joanne can correct me if I'm wrong, we just received, a notification from UTC regarding the first quarter billing that they are contesting, because the plant was down. So we have a conference call set up next week to work through that. The quarterly billing was 310,000 or so, and they're contesting it because the plant has been down, and we've sent the bill, so they're saying that,
Are the plants up and operating now?
not yet.
What do you mean not yet? We discussed this months ago. I hate to get into something that's
There
a
were
little
delays.
sticky, but that's a major source of
Mhm.
income for us.
We're still working on the FBL filter and the drain project. It's about 50% complete right now.
Look, I understand 50% complete for us to start billing on a regular basis.
No, the repairs. 50%.
The repairs are. What's been the delay?
There were additional repairs that came up after the contractor got into pulling the filters out and doing everything. Then there were additional repairs that were found to be needed. So you had to order the equipment and, and supplies to do the additional repairs.
This is a major source of income for us.
There were also delays with the contracting.
Okay.
Okay, Ricky, I have a couple questions for sources of supply, 5110, whoever wants to take the questions on that.
I'll let John.
Okay,
Where's 51 turn the page?
page 3 of 60, it's the very first GL. All right, so Joanne, I'm looking at the actuals for the baseline feeder. I mean, I don't have any issue with continuing the funding at the level we generally do. I was just a little surprised that it didn't seem like we maybe used the baseline feeder as much as I thought we had last year. Can you just maybe provide maybe some clarification on that?
Yeah, so that's two things.
Mm-hmm.
For the baseline feeder, we always budget for 5,000 acre feet a year.
Yeah.
But normally, at least for this year, we use approximately 3,000. So that's the reason why. And then the second one is a standby source for Encanto water. With more wells running right now, so we haven't used the Encanto source until maybe this week for one day.
Well, I mean, under the detailed version, which I have, it looks like we pretty much used the money for the Encanto boosters, but I was just kind of curious as to why we didn't use more baseline feeder. Was there just not as much demand, or were we getting more water from the Safe Water Project? I mean,
We use as much as we can take. There are limitations to the baseline feeder system as to how much we can actually take.
okay.
And there was one time when one of the wells was down for a couple weeks.
Okay, all right, and then down under purchase water for Fontana Union. So we have to pay a $42,000 meter equivalency for IEUA.
I know we're currently discussing, but for me, for the upcoming year, I'll just put some money in, just in case if we have to pay, then we have the money to move forward. So just a contingency.
But you also put 16,000 for a capacity charge agreement per IEUA?
The capacity charge, we have to pay per our agreement.
Okay, all right, so we're contractually obligated, but the 42,000, we're just trying to be a little safer?
Wait a minute.
Great, why is 42,000 a contingency amount? I thought it was pass through, but,
Yeah.
Mr. General Manager, what is that?
The MEU, meter equivalent use charge, is a charge that they want us to put on our bill for people that live in the small area, northern Fontana, that we serve that are in their service area, not in San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District's service area. They use that fee for water conservation and so forth. I've contacted their general manager, to talk about that fee, and he didn't know much about it, and wanted to take time to research it. I contacted him a couple of weeks ago to follow up, and he said, okay, I'm pretty much up to speed, we're gonna set a meeting in short order.
IEAU general manager is a she.
No, it's a he, Shivaji, I've known him for
He
years.
from San Diego?
No, he came from West Basin Municipal Water District.
Okay.
Well, and I know we've been talking about this one in the Engineering and Planning Committee. Kyle, I don't know if you wanna chime in. I mean, I'm not sure if we should be budgeting this or not.
Right, why are we using our resources for someone else?
No, these are not our resources, these are
No,
our
I'm
service.
saying, well, if we're billing, if we're communicating, and we're using our, there's the dollar amount resources, if they're receiving a bill from who?
Well, see, they're billing us, but we've not been paying the bills.
Who's billing us?
IEUA is billing us.
They're billing us for what?
They're
Well,
billing us,
Wait, hold on, or General Manager, please explain. I'll
they're
check.
billing us for a fee. Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
They're billing us for a fee that they want charged. They want us to charge.
So there you have it, they're billing us for a fee that they want charged.
Yeah.
To who? Our customers or their customers?
Both, it's our customers, but it's their customers too, because they supply the water, they're the wholesaler.
They're the wholesale, they
Yeah,
supply
see,
the water.
because they don't bill these
Do
people.
they give us a
want
little
us
something
to-
extra for our administrative costs or whatever we're having to do? If we're gonna bill or pay or do anything, do we get a little something?
Well, I mean, we
They
just,
give us, I swipe my ATM card at the store down the street, I have to pay $1 because I'm swiping my ATM card.
the answer is no, really. I mean, they just want us to collect the money for them, and we don't really get anything for doing that.
And they have
Hence
means, they have
now-
means to
now-
collect it themselves.
Now,
which we prefer.
hence the rub, that's my rub. So the idea that, we've been long partners, we've been good friends, but, if you, go out with one of your friends and you always pay for lunch, I guess that's a good friendship too.
Well, one of the things we've been discussing at the committee, and I really left this up to Vice President Crowther's decision, because this affects
He's in
his
Fontana.
district
Oh, okay.
specifically.
Okay.
And Kyle, I don't know if you want to chime in at all on this one, but, to me, it's like, there's different ways of looking at it, but he's the one who's gonna get the angry phone calls when people's bills go up, because we're now collecting a fee for this other agency.
Well, but they need to pay it, the agency needs to pay it.
Well, but we sent it back to the committee so that Kyle could have an opportunity to review it, so.
Mr. Crowther,
I'll let him.
Crowther.
Yes. Yeah, no, I know we discussed it, and I know we were gonna, consider options as far as, going back, and, I think we've given, direction to the general manager to call, Cucamonga and find out if they have any, discussions on billing this to IUA. I think this was in committee a couple months ago, so I think we were waiting, unless I can't recall something, I think we were waiting to hear back on what Cucamonga does and figuring out some of our options. I know it's kind of a touchy situation, it's kind of a small amount, but it's something we've already been doing, so I think we're just waiting to hear back from the general manager on some more options on what we're gonna do before we make a decision.
So we're setting aside 42,000.
I mean, I would say no myself for right now, but I mean, I'll leave that to the board, but.
Well, right, and we wanna be good partners and friends, and we'll let the general manager do his work, and we don't wanna kick you over any apple cart.
Well, we haven't been paying it since 2015. The only time we did pay it was when our well went down, and then we had to use.
Then we had to pay it.
Then we had to pay it because we were using their water
Okay.
exclusively.
Alright, I understand. Okay.
Joanne, on the last item, on the detail was, the water master cost. Budgeting 50,000, but it looks like this year we've only spent about 14,000 on it, is what they've assessed us this year.
Yes, because this year we didn't sell our water rights to, or we haven't at least to Cucamonga Valley Water District.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, it would be a little bit more.
Gotcha, okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you, and then, the next up I have, questions on production and pumping, 5210. Also probably me. All right, well, we'll get to my favorite subject that I bring up every single year, uniforms. So, looking at the usage of uniforms and safety, you know, we budgeted $4,800 last year and only spent about $2,500. Is that correct?
That's correct,
Okay, and so you're asking for 26, correct?
yes.
Okay, I'll give you that one. On the next page, page 5, annual testing. Now, you have down, and Ricky, just so you know, in the future, if you can try to make sure that the left and the right sides match up, because sometimes what you have on the right isn't the same thing that's on the left-hand side, so I have to often bounce back and forth.
Is it the detailed descriptions?
Yes.
Well, the left side is for, what was proposed, prior year.
Correct, but what I'm saying is if we can try to make sure that we're keeping things in the same line as far as what's being asked for this year, because sometimes it's split or sometimes it's grouped, sometimes.
Okay.
If you look at it, you'll
Yeah.
kind of see what I mean.
I got you.
But so what I wanted to ask you, Joanne, was that we budgeted 12,000 in this area last year, and it doesn't look like we've actually used any of it in this category. So can you maybe give me a little background on why we need 12,000 again?
We actually did, sometimes staff will enter an incorrect GL code, so that's the reason why.
So this was put in the wrong GL code then?
They enter purchase request.
Okay, so what was the cost then this year? Do you know off the top of your head?
Just about 12,000.
It was about 12,000, okay.
Have we corrected the problem with putting in the wrong GL code?
We address it to our staff to make sure they remember that it's a GL code for just meter testing.
You addressed it to the side, you talked to them or sent them a memo, so it's recorded?
Yes.
Yeah. And then accounting will follow up and do a transfer.
Okay, so for professional services lab test, you're asking for 2,500, but looking at the prior year, you did 2,000, and then this year you did about 1,600, and you're asking for 2,500.
For once, we have more wells working, so
Okay.
more compliance. And then there are some testing we don't anticipate, but we have to, like well 2, we didn't anticipate we have MTBE problem. So because of that, we have to increase monitoring. Same with well 17, we didn't anticipate we would have 1, 2, 3 TCP problem. Because of that, now we have to increase monitoring. So
But that's something that's happened this year, right?
Yes.
The increased monitoring?
Mhm.
But we've only used 1,600 this year, so with increased monitoring, we're still not using the 2,500 is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, another problem is the invoices may be coming in late, not being paid timely.
So you're saying that there's outstanding invoices that are not shown in, under encumbered?
Yeah, it's possible.
Yes, you will, throughout the document, there are, invoices that have not been received or posted yet, so they couldn't make it into the encumbrance column. And I am encouraging, every department to start, clean up and send me as much of invoices as they can before the end of the fiscal year.
The vendors are being notified that we're closing our fiscal year and they need to get their invoices in.
But again, it's like, so the prior year you spent 2,000, this year you're at 1,600, let's just say that you have a few in outstanding, maybe another 2,000. So could you do with 22,500 instead of 2,500? I mean, again, I'm looking to add up where I can here.
Well, good. That's, okay, yeah, not, we all get your, we agree with you that we need to save on as much as we can. There's some.
So then let's talk about it.
There's some, well, this one.
It's a big fit.
Right, can we, this one we might have to, our fishing license doesn't let us catch fish that small.
Well, unfortunately, when it comes to trying to prevent our bond covenant from being broken,
Yes.
we need to look at every size fish, unfortunately, Mr. President. I mean, cause right now, hold on. Can I say something, please? Can I say something? Ricky, what's our proposed debt covenant ratio right now?
The minimum 1.2.
Correct, and in what, about a year, we're hoping to go out for bonds for that Romer plant expansion. If we sneeze right now, ladies and gentlemen, we will break our bond covenant. That's how close we are. So yes, I am drilling down really, really small, but I'm doing so because I want to try to give our CFO as much of a cushion as I possibly can so that we don't break our bond covenant.
So let me add to that, I appreciate it. We cannot adopt a budget without covering the bond ratio. At the end of the adoption, when the budget is adopted, US Bank sends me a memo to certify that we've met the bond covenants ratio along with a copy of our budget. So we can do whatever we are to maneuver to keep that coverage. I will not sign a document if we do not meet the bond coverage ratio.
No, and I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with Greg. I'm in agreement with staff. I'm just saying that, Greg, you have made some very good recommendations that, if implemented, and I think the board will,
You like one of the three ones.
I like some of them, yeah, and so that, I'm just saying, I mean, I think I think the CFO and the, Director of Operations, they understand where we're at with this particular item, and I'm sure we'll work to see if they can bring it on down. That's all I'm saying. With this one.
Okay, so we can move on then. Joanne, can you speak to the water quality department?
Yes.
Okay.
Which page?
This is page 6 of 60. Actually, hold on, sorry. Page 7, actually, I'm sorry. So again, on the uniforms. So looking at the uniforms for this department, they're requesting 2,500, but based on what's here, last year they spent 1,300, and so far this current year they've only spent about $1,000. So why the increase to 2,500?
So that GL covers both uniform and safety shoes.
Mhm.
Employees are entitled to two pair, 200 each.
I'm looking at it combined, but again, they're asking for an increase when they didn't even use what we gave them last year.
This budget year, the department has been down 2 FTEs.
Okay. So you anticipate having 2 new FTEs then?
We hope, yes.
We hope.
Yes.
Mr. Mandelbaum, can you look into that and see if that's truly needed?
Yes, sir, I'm making a note right now.
Thank you. And then looking down on the, Now, on the purchase of the reagents, I was just kind of curious, because it looks like prior years you used about the same amount, but this past year it has only been about half of what we've normally used in that GL code for operating supplies and chemicals. Is there any particular reason why we haven't used as much this year?
The change of staffing, because we lost the supervisor for time being.
Okay.
The acting supervisors may not have purchased the parts just yet, because she's still learning her job.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So for the, and it might also explain then maybe on the repairs and maintenance that we've only spent about 13,000 of our $50,000 budget for the year?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, all right, that's fine. And that probably explains the last category too. Water treatment perchlorate. Can you speak to that? Okay. Once again, under professional services, we have a budget this current year of 38,000, but we've only spent about 12,000. And we're asking for 40,000 for next year.
That's for lab tests, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I think to, kind of what we're saying, that looking at some of these, on-call type, professional services. I mean, here's an example of one where the prior year we only used 22,000, we budgeted 38,000, we've only used 11,000 this year so far. So do we really need to budget another 40,000? When it looks like, at least for the last 2 years, we haven't even come close to using half of what we budgeted, is kind of my question.
We can cut that in half. The reason we put 40 is because we have more wells. We're hoping to use well 16 and 17, but currently we cannot. We're still waiting on the permit amendment.
Okay.
So the chance of us using that one, is there, but not very high. And then for well 42, the motor's being pulled, so we're still waiting on it. Yeah, we can actually cut that down to 20K.
Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, that's a good savings there.
Thank you for the 20,000.
Yeah. And then, on the bottom of the page for, the chlorination equipment, we're asking for 20,000, but it looks like this year we've only spent about 10. Is there any reason why we're doubling this budget for this coming year?
That's for chlorine pump, because sometimes they just fail. So the 20K is as needed, just in case if you lose the pump, we have the money to go right now, versus actually kind of, trying to dump to the budget and make the budget transfer.
Okay, I'll get that one. Water treatment? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He is.
I've done this every year. You should
I know that.
You should know that.
35 minutes for this session.
Yes, I know.
All right. The only reason he asked me is because I'm fundamentally, I start off, my fundamental beginning is cheap. So, I'm willing to entertain it more because I'm kind of a cheap person. But,
Well, I'm trying to go as quickly as I can here, gentlemen. So for water treatment, FBR, FBX, page 11 of 60. This is actually a case where I'm actually kind of worried we're cutting it too much, perhaps, believe it or not. I can go the other way.
uh-oh.
On the expenses and training, they're only budgeting $800, and it looks like in the last couple of years, we've generally spent around $3,000 to $5,000 in training.
They actually requested a lot more money.
Okay.
The supervisor requested $1,600 per employee, because Ricky and
I don't know if we can do that, but I'm just thinking $800 for the whole department, maybe a little lean. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I mean, if you guys, I'll let you two talk about it. I'm just saying that I would be willing to give you a little bit more here, because I think that that's a little too, that's cutting off the arm, the leg, not just the fat and the muscle at this point.
Well, the thought process behind that is because, again, with this COVID-19, there is really no opportunity, at least currently, for training and gathering and all
Well,
of
yes,
that stuff.
away,
so-
but there is stuff online.
Well, that's what this covers, is the online portion of the training.
Only $800? I mean, hey,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm okay for it, cause
Yeah.
that's less money, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of training involved in this department.
Just make it an even thousand, so he's happy.
Again,
I just.
I'm not trying to be cruel, I just, if I see that it's a little too lean, I'm gonna ask about it. So on page 12, the next page, professional services. So again, to kind of go to, and actually I end up writing that, that's okay. A little further down for, again, the uniform expenses. So it looks like we've been kind of consistent around the, 2,000 or, this year we've only spent about 1,200, but we're asking for 36 for next year, which is actually almost double what the budget was the prior year. Is there an explanation of why we need to increase the funding 180%?
We don't need that much, and it's possible that this year, the staff, they didn't purchase safety shoes,
Okay.
and so.
I mean, I wrote down 1,800, I
Okay.
think sounds a little more reasonable based on your historical usage.
1,800 is good.
Okay.
Well, okay, and where are we now?
I was looking at uniforms on page 12 for the,
Page 12, and, well, the safety.
they had,
Equipment,
yeah, but they had asked for basically 180% increase over last year.
wait, what item?
It's about halfway down page 12, but they've
Oh,
been
those-
spending about $2,000 to $1,000 and they asked for 3,600. And so I was just asking them about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I suggested 1,800, she says that would work, right?
Can we do, just make it even 2,000 and we'll be okay, all right?
All right, I'll make it
So
even.
if somebody needs some boots,
Again, I'm just trying to say where I can.
come on, let's go.
I'm okay with the electric, cause I think part of the reason you've been down is cause we're not fully operating at the moment. Now for the SCADA, now was that budgeted somewhere else prior? Cause I know you're asking for 10,000, which I don't have an issue with, cause I know how critical SCADA is, but it just wasn't budgeted in this line item before, I think? Was that budgeted elsewhere before?
It's budgeted elsewhere before, and this year, the chief has an idea to integrate the Epic Speed into our FBL system.
Okay.
So we just put 10K there to do maybe a study, do some basic evaluation.
So we're just doing a study for it, is what you're saying?
Yes, and then if,
Does he need 10,000 to do a study?
and study, and then possibly start to work online, maybe phase 1, if feasible.
Let the staff, or let.
I'll let it slide.
There you go, let it go, let them have some.
I'll let it slide. On here. Okay. So then to water treatment, Romer arsenic, starting on page 16. So again, to kind of follow up with other ones, we're looking at the professional services, other consultants. So it's about halfway down the page. We budgeted 68,000. We've only spent about 25,000 so far this year. And you're asking for 85, and the year prior, we only spent about 42. So
Which page are you on, Greg?
this is page 16 of 60. It's about right in the middle of the page. And again, if you kind of look at it, I mean, this is, I think, an example where I don't know if we need the 85, because again, it seems like historically we've spent about 20 to 40,000 in this area every year.
The reason we put 85 is because the chief has an idea to program his Triton filters over the Roma plant, so that we can get less alarm to cut overtime. So it's at 25K. We don't know how much exactly, but we want to put some money there.
I'm about to say,
Just-
so we need 45,000 for that?
25K, and then the other, there would be PM contract and as needed maintenance. Because we just don't know when or if something is gonna fail.
Well, I mean, I think President Hawkins' point wants at least a 10%, so can we maybe come down to like 75?
Yes.
Would that work?
Yes. Got me. Use my word against me.
So that would then tie into the filter survey then on the next line, which I had a question about what that was.
That is more like for media and coding.
Okay, all right. Okay, and then so down again to my favorite topic, uniforms. Again, asked for an increase to 3,600 when the last 2 years they've spent about 1,200.
We can drop that to 1,500.
Perfect. I said 14, but I'll do 15, that's fine. Okay, a little further down then on the trash, I noticed that we budgeted 4,000 here the year before, but it looks like we're about 2,600. I mean, are we anticipating the trash bill going up considerably, or? I mean, it seems like it's been consistent about 2,600.
Yeah, there are some construction projects we were hoping they can start this year. So the extra funds were to handle construction waste, but it didn't pan out.
Okay.
That's the reason.
So, I mean, can we do like 3,000 or 3,200, so you have a little bit of a buffer? I mean, I'm okay with a little bit of a buffer, but again, it's just, again, I'm looking to save every dollar I can here.
We can do 3,200.
Perfect. All right, and then for the gas, we budgeted 700, but it looks like, again, we're about 400 is about our usual bills around there. So would 600 work? Again, I'm trying to save every dollar I can.
No, because the invoices, they might be.
This is true, Greg, I will say, this one definitely delved into every dollar right now. This is.
Well, but I'm just looking at the historical data here.
You know, yeah, but can we at least have, I mean, I don't know if it's fair, $1,000 savings, 500 at a time, can we?
It all adds up.
It does, but you know, in the benefit of time, I mean, I'm
just going through the
and I'm
list.
with you, I'm tight on my money too, but you know, $500,000, yeah. So we can, you've had some good ones though, I agree.
I'm gonna keep going here. So you all can look at that one, but I wasn't quite sure why the increase from 5 to 7, but okay. So moving on to the professional services for janitorial, it looked like that's pretty stable at about 4,500. Is there any reason why we keep budgeting it at 6?
Yeah, well, you know what, with COVID and everything, I would say this, with COVID and everything,
that's a fair point.
let's leave that where that is.
Okay.
Page 16.
That's a fair point.
Page
So going on to page 17, professional services.
All right, is it possible that you get together with the CFO?
Well, no, we wanna have the CFO focus in, and, you know, I think some stuff staff does need, cause we might not have seats next time.
My suggestion is that, you get together with those departments. So we're gonna be here till
No, we're not gonna be here till 2
If y'all
o'clock.
keep arguing about it, I can't continue,
I mean,
and then we're going to
if at least a solid $1,000 savings, you know, at a time, Greg, you know, with
Can
the
I?
100, 200.
I'll
100,
try to
200,
focus
I mean,
on $1,000 increments, how about that?
There you go, yeah, okay, all right. See, we have process. We got process, we got progress.
Cliff, do you have a hot date to go to?
Okay, now we got agreement. He can do this is
I'm
actually
trying to work with
doing
you
good.
guys, but you're
We're on
spending more
page
time
17,
arguing than I'm trying to.
$1,000 at a time, $1,000.
All right, so professional services for the lab test again on page 17 of 60. Again, looking at the historical usages here, 23,000, in 18-19, this year so far, a little under 20,000, but we're asking for a $5,000 increase from last year's, from 25,000 to 30,000. To me, I'd be fine with 25 again, but why do we need to increase it to 30?
25 is fine. That's my little contingency for well 2 IX system, even though currently it's down due to MTV, but we're hoping that maybe when we have some rain later in the fall, then there will be enough to dilute the MTBE levels and produce that system, but it's not guaranteed.
Okay, well then let's just keep it at 25 then. See, $5,000 right there. So then the next professional services, I guess, / sludge disposal. On this one, asked for an increase from 35,000 to 50,000 when, I mean, the prior year you used 35,000, but then this year you only used 3,000, and you're asking for, and I don't mean you specifically, I mean the department's asking for an increase from 35,000 to 50,000. So I'm trying to understand what the nature of the need is here, because you haven't used it much this year.
So 20K is for the arsenic plant, so we can take that out. The 30K is needed, it's just that we changed chief at the Wilma plant, so it takes some time for the chief to adjust to see what they need to do.
Okay, so would 35,000 be fine then?
Even
Same as last
30K
year?
would be fine, 30K would be fine.
30? Oh, even better, I like that. I'll take it. See?
Or wait, but 35 is what, can we just stick to 35, is that okay? Just
That's
so
fine.
you guys don't have to. 35 is fine. I
I'd
know.
saved you 20 and you gave them.
I know, 35 is fine, let's.
All right, moving on. So for maintenance, transmission, and distribution, page 19 of 60. Well, actually, kind of starting on page 19, but really going into page 20. It's right at the top line there again that, you know, last year's budget for uniform and operating supply was 7,200. They've only used 3,800 and they're asking for 5,000. I'm just curious as to why there's so much kind of, I mean, it seems like they're pretty constant at about $4,000. So, you know.
The main reason is that the department has been down 2 employees for a while.
Okay, all right, I'll leave that then. So for repairs and maintenance, about a third of the way down the page, again asking for 50,000, but the usages have only been about 20,000 in 1 year and about 24,000 this year. So do we need 50,000 here?
We do, it's just we haven't gotten a chance to work on some of the maintenance items. Remember, well, we have that fallen tree, even though insurance is gonna cover, but we have to pay first.
Okay, all right, I'll leave that there then. Now, here's a case where I actually thought maybe it was cut a little too much, was the street paving. I mean, last year, we spent $658,000, you're only budgeting 500,000?
Because you know, it's a lean budget, so 500 just based on routine maintenance.
Okay.
Last year is so much more because we have 2 big mainframe jobs. So one job's already 125K. So I didn't.
So you're anticipating it's going to be more like 18, 19 when we only spent 300,000?
Not that low.
But not as high as this year though?
We hope,
Okay, all
unless
right,
we
that's
have
fine.
a couple main breaks again.
That's fine. Then about, kind of down the third part of the page here, it's under the, I guess, rental and equipment section. We have $20,000 for PPE and safety equipment for all district staff.
Yeah, that's for all district staff.
Why is it in this department and not in like HR or purchasing?
It used to be in the HR department, but Karen, the old HR manager, transferred that to this department.
Because I'm really confused at why that purchase for the whole district should be in maintenance, transmission, and distribution.
Because she was trying to get it off of her budget
Well,
and hide it somewhere.
well, that's the political
That's-
answer, but I'm just kind of throwing this to the CFO. I really think that this 20,000 should probably be in HR or administration or somewhere else. It really, I mean, it makes no sense to have it for all the district coming out of this one. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I do agree, and just on that note, I also consolidated safety and training because it was scattered all over.
Yeah.
So now that's gonna be focused just in HR.
Okay, so can we
So
move
we
this to
can-
HR then?
I will figure out which department would be more feasible.
Okay, yeah, because it just didn't make a lot of sense when I read that. I'm going as fast as I can when you're going. And then for, customer service, 5510. Mr. Manville, can you speak to that, or?
What page?
I'm looking at page 25 of 60.
Page 25.
Like I said, gentlemen, I'm trying to go as fast as I can here. So Ricky, my question, and you know, it's probably more appropriate for you anyways, as CFO, is that on page 25, we have this $113,000 charge for Tyler convenience fee. Should this be in customer service, or should it be somewhere more in accounting somewhere?
No, that's in customer service because, when our customers pay their bill, the convenience fee portion of it is being charged. And that's why it's in that customer service.
All right, I mean, if that's where you want it to be, I mean, to me, I initially thought it probably belonged more in accounting, but I mean,
Yeah,
that's fine.
no.
Then a little bit further down on the, I was just kind of curious as far as, because it just says approximately an average of 14,200. I'm guessing it's a bank card expense because it's under miscellaneous. Is that what that is? I was just curious because it didn't really specify what it was. It just.
Yes, that's the charge
Banking
from banking charge, yeah.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, it just didn't say that in the justification, so.
I will add that, and as you can see, last year it wasn't, it was budgeted extremely low for some reason.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with the amount, I just wasn't quite sure what it was referring to. So then moving on to meter reading, 5520,
What page?
page 26 of 60. So again, to my favorite topic of uniforms, about 2/3 of the way down the page here, spent $3,900. Then they spent about $3,600 so far this year and asking for 52. Can they do with 42?
We can do it 42.
Thank you. There's $1,000 right there.
Meter reading now is under you, Joanne?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, and so then under operating supplies, again, prior year 9,100, this year so far maybe 7,800, asking for 11,000. You still feel comfortable, or can we shave a little there?
I talked to Bill, our meter supervisor. He said he will actually use the entire budget.
Okay, all right, I'll give it to you guys. All right, moving on, thank you, Joanne, I think that's it for that one. Now I'm back to, looks like, billing. Oh, we lost our CFO.
Building?
You gotta go
To the back.
5530?
Yes. I had a question for him.
Okay. What page is it?
I'm on page 28 of 60. So Ricky, I had a question for you on billing, page 28 of 60.
Okay.
I was actually, you know, because it looks like you completely cut out uniforms and district shirts for your staff. When they do kind of use it, I mean, it's about $500 or so generally a year. Do they not need any shirts, or?
Exactly, I asked the question and they were like, they bought for this current year to use their budget, so they're going to sacrifice that in the upcoming year.
Okay, I just wanted to double check, because I was like, wow, you cut it completely.
Very supportive staff members.
I have a question. The printer that we're using to print our bills, is this the same printer we've been using for years?
InfoSend?
Yes.
Yes. The process changed a little bit this year because we have the Tyler system, but they're going to continue to do that until we decided to go someplace else.
I thought the Tyler system had a unit in.
The Tyler, we did, we created, a new billing, portion in Tyler, and that's going to get sent. However, we're still using InfoSend, to do the electronic, conversion portion of the billing.
Well, when you say, are we encouraging and are some of our customers going to, just online billing at this point versus paper bill?
We do have the capability for them to log on to their account and get the information that they need,
Right.
but we're not, completely, on, I mean,
Some
100%.
utilities now are really giving you the option, which I figure is a cost saving, where you decide you don't wanna pay for your Edison, the gas company.
You just do it on, they
You
send
just
you
do
an online
they
bill.
just see an online bill, you pay an online
You pay it
bill,
online, no paper transaction.
no paper transaction.
I can help respond to that. Yes, customers do have the option to go paperless and receive it just digitally or sign on. So essentially what happens in the Tyler Encode system now, if they're designated as paperless, it does not generate the file for the printer to print. So they only get the bills that actually are customers that want them.
Have we sent out any, well, in this regard, have we sent out any communications or anything to encourage? Now that, we've kind of gone through this whole situation, people are more inclined to just do stuff online. Is that in our deals? Do we say it, go from paper bill to go online, encouraging people to go online?
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job at that. It's, there's things on the website that we're sending mailers out to encourage them to do that, and bottom line is.
But it says that on the bill.
Yeah.
Don't get a paper bill, go online.
There is an option, right, and if they do it, they do it, and that's as much as we can do.
I think it would be a good effort to let people know, I don't read my bill that, to that fine
I'm just
degree.
saying in 2020, it's okay to encourage people to do stuff online.
Well, when the ratepayer or the customer, sign on to their account, there is the option is there for them to select it, paperless.
But we wanna encourage it, we wanna say, we wanna just not make it a passive.
The mailer that we're sending out, and the team will be able to communicate this, it's approximately $12,000 every time we do a mailer, so it's
Right.
very pricey.
No, I'm not saying to do a mailer, I'm talking about the communication. So, I don't know if, like, for instance, when a customer service agents answer a question, they're like, oh, I see here that you still get your bill on
Yeah,
paper.
and that's.
Would you consider going to online billing instead? Like, just asking that question.
That's a message, that's an additional messaging that we can incorporate into our outgoing communications, but also that we can incorporate, Ricky, with our customer service agents, customer service representatives when they do call. Whenever there are specific, messaging that we do wanna go ahead and, inform our ratepayers of, we do that, and that's something that we can take a look at, including to try to boost, paperless billing.
Yeah, save the environment.
We can send emails to those people we have emails to.
And that's one of the things we actually have been doing. I know the board president's aware of that, and as well as you, Mr. Young, or Director, Dr. Young, is that we have been increasing email communications between the district and our ratepayers for the past 2 months.
But kind of like the online billing or the customer service agents, when they do get the calls, also saying, hey, well, I see here, we don't have your email address, would you mind giving it to me? Is that a part of their standard?
And that's exactly one of the things that Ricky and I have been talking about over the past few weeks, is with the help of John and his team, we've been reviewing the ratepayer files of email addresses that we have, and acknowledge that we recognize we're missing quite a few. So one of the things that we're looking at is, when a ratepayer does call, we can say, a customer service representative can say, we actually don't have an email address on file, would you like one? And at the end of the day, we've discussed it, they're not required to, but, most of the time they would be willing to, and that's what we're
Yeah,
looking at boosting.
Just, yeah, but, and you can get an increase just by asking the question when they engage. Okay,
And we are doing,
I'll leave it, yeah, just the paperless billing, give us your email. Alright. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No, that's fine.
deviate.
Ricky, can we go to administration 5610, page 30 of 60? Once again, it looks like we took out uniforms entirely, but we generally spend between $800 and $1,000. So are we good to not include any money here for uniforms? For, says district shirts and embroidery?
I'm okay with it, we can add 500 or so if you like.
Again, I'm just bringing it to you. I mean, if you guys are okay with not having any budget there, that's, okay, you think we need some, so yeah, 500 then. Okay, now then, on the beginning of the next page, page 31, we get to the totals for the printing. Now this area, I think we can, I'm definitely a little concerned on the numbers here, because we budgeted 8,700, but we have barely used, we've used about 1,700 this year, 2,300 the year before. I mean, I don't see why we need 8,700 here. I really don't. I mean, honestly, I think you could probably get by with 2,500 to 3,000 here and be perfectly fine, because that's the historical trend.
Let me research, I think we can.
Okay,
Alright.
please, thank you.
Well, I'm gonna go, let's split the baby and see if we can supply 5,000.
5,000.
Be generous.
All right, so
And
then,
remember too, let me add, because, with all of the activities going on, in the upcoming year, recruitment and things of that nature, we may need.
again, I have no problem giving it if it's justified, but again, we did 8,700 the year before and we barely used that, and you're asking for 8,700 again, and, I just wanna know that that's gonna be actually put to use and not just sit there like it has been. So then we kind of have a very large section starting on page 31 going into page 32 for the miscellaneous travel. On this one, I'm actually a little concerned it's a little lean, in particular that it looks like it completely cut out the Aqua DC. Now, I mean, obviously that's still a ways away in February of next year, but, I'm assuming that, unless we're on another shutdown or something, that there will probably be an Aqua DC conference going on, and that probably one or more directors and staff may be going. So I'm a little concerned that the 36,890 is a bit lean. I think that might be better to be around 50 maybe. I mean, we definitely need to trim back, so I'm pleased to see that, but when I saw that Aqua DC wasn't on there, I'm like, that's one which we probably would still go to. I think like the CSDA, government affairs days, yeah, we could probably skip those, but Aqua DC is probably one that I'm assuming board members that we would probably still try to go to if it happens.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to, I'm in agreement with that, but I wanted to apply my methodology,
Okay.
district-wide,
Right.
Yeah.
and let you provide me with the direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I concur
Before
with.
you leave this
Okay.
department,
Sure.
something that we'll bring up and discover lately, under administration, the U.S. Conference of Mayors cross it out. There's no reason for us to be a member in that. And I hope the GM has some answers for us later. 31,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we should cross that out, Cliff. There's no reason to do it right now.
You say what? I didn't hear you, Mike.
I don't agree with you. I don't think we should cross it out.
What's
The amount of influence that gives us in DC, the amount of clout that organization gave us when we were working on a project, is unbelievable. It was strongly recommended that we join the agency by, Mayor Robinson.
Mayor,
And I agree with you. Mayor Robinson.
how much money did we give the city of Rialto, if you wanna talk about that? And why is a water agency,
I'm not here to get in a debate with you, I'm just stating, my opinion on it. I've been quiet, I'm sitting here
Well,
listening.
well, I think for point of clarification, if you look on the detail, Ricky doesn't even have it budgeted for this coming year, correct, Ricky?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was for last,
Yeah.
or current year.
Okay, and then moving down, and this is just kind of a general question, cause it
So,
seems
can-
like.
can-
Yeah, sorry.
Can we go back to that?
Yeah,
I just wanna make, am I going to add some funding there, or we're just gonna leave it alone
oh, you mean for the travel?
for the US Conference of Mayors?
Oh,
No,
I would say no, I mean, we may have to discuss it further if
When we
the
come
board
back
wants
to our
to.
discussion.
we're gonna have a discussion later.
But I mean, your budget
Well-
doesn't have it on here, I mean,
I realize that, but what I'm saying is, when we're gonna meet Friday, I wanna make sure I include everything in the impact to the budget, dollar wise. So
No,
that's why I was asking.
Okay. Maybe, CETA.
okay, so then on to,
What, Aqua legislative travel expenses, you budgeted 1,300.
Where are you?
Right here, did I just jump ahead of you, Craig?
I'm trying to figure out where you are, so
Okay.
sorry.
Aqua legislative travel expenses, hotel,
What page are you on?
page 31.
Okay, yeah.
It's 31.
Yeah, well, that's how much we incurred this year, but the point I brought up was that we didn't budget really anything.
Anything, and we need,
And we probably do need something for Aqua.
yeah, we need that. We can put the,
I mean, I'm okay with cutting out like some of the CSDA stuff, which he did, cause I think that it's a nice to do, but, but I think Aqua generally is a little more important.
and then, CSDA Government Affairs Day, legislative days in May. What is this registration versus the travel for CSDA?
Yes, because, the registration is basically just the registration dues, and the travel is a travel-related
Yeah.
expenses.
Well, I think that, we can,
Cause we track those two separately.
yeah, rather than cut it completely, maybe, we reduce it. And, if we do need to go, I would hope we would have more of a program for Sacramento next year, but, this year, maybe, we limit what we, put into that, so it went from 3,600, maybe you come down to 2,500, and then we have to make some choices on who's gonna go,
Well,
and where we're gonna stay and all that.
well, one suggestion which I can make is that towards the bottom of that page on 31, you see the board committee meals. We've been budgeting, looks like set 7,200 for that, but we haven't quite spent all that.
Okay,
So maybe we could have a little savings there to allow us to maybe
So,
do some,
go to
And
would that work?
3,000 or something, is 1,900 or
No,
2,000 what we were actually been using?
I don't know what would.
Well, it looks like,
Board committee meals?
yeah, maybe,
So,
yeah.
3,000, yeah, I mean, we budgeted 7,200, we actually used 19.
So if we put like 4,000 and then put the rest towards.
Yeah.
About 2,500 should be enough.
why don't we just leave the board committee meals as it is, and, when we get to the conference, if we need to, we can always
We can
move it
transfer.
around.
Yeah, 'cause
Because if we
within
move
the
it
same
now
boat.
and it's unknown,
Yeah.
then, we'll have to change it again anyway.
I'm just saying, if we use 2,000, and if we know, 4,000 would take care of everything, then, when we're looking at CSDA or other stuff, we can move it around, but, okay.
I mean, probably the biggest thing is just, probably that you're looking at, what, maybe
Again, with the
maybe 15,000-16,000
With
for
this-
DC Aqua.
Yeah. with
Yeah,
this-
I'll do the same as we did.
Yeah.
that
And
this
then with
year.
the CSDA, we're gonna pay for, registration, and then it's an issue again that who's gonna go. Okay.
Now, can I ask a question while we're still on this
Well, okay,
subject.
this water education tours,
Those are good. Yeah, I don't know what the cost.
I never.
You haven't been on one?
I haven't been.
Well, but we don't have anything budgeted anyways.
We don't have anything.
But the agents, what is it?
You know, I've come in, I haven't.
Met usually pick up the cost.
Okay.
Metropolitan will pick up the cost. Our
Well, if you
our
do
cost
one
is
of
very-
theirs, but then there's the Water Education Foundation, which does different ones. So it just depends on if you do a Met tour or not.
I always do the Met tour. When they come up, we'll make sure that
Okay.
you know about it.
And then.
Where they pay for everything.
SBA, layup content, what's the layup? I don't know.
That's a local agency, that's our investment, the state treasury investment fund.
So we're not gonna participate at all this year?
What?
I'm not sure if they're gonna even have anything going on.
Okay.
That's why they
Yeah.
didn't.
Well, and one thing which I wouldn't mind adding in here, I mean, we weren't able to do it this year mainly because of everything going on, was the Westcast. They often have a meeting down in San Diego. I've gone before, but obviously wasn't able to do it this year.
Westcast is good to go to.
And that's like about $1,000 altogether.
Yeah.
It's towards the
Yeah.
bottom.
I think we cut it and we have to make some choices as far as who's gonna go, how much staff is gonna go. I don't know if we should completely cut out every single thing with CSBA, but I also, you know, like I said, the board meals and stuff, I think that's too high.
And
But
can I,
some way to even it out, so if necessary, we can still participate, we just won't participate
as often?
yeah, as often, and, you know, instead of maybe sending 3 or 2 directors, we, you know, except for the one, the Aqua DC.
Can I ask a question, Mr. President?
Yes.
So, in addition to the CSDA stuff here, we also, I'm not sure if it's budgeted here or elsewhere, but, you know, as we're trying to work towards this, you know, I forget it, Certificate of Excellence or
Yes.
whatever, are those
Oh.
costs included here as far as, you know, registration for those classes, whether it's online or in person?
Right.
No.
Yeah, and we actually want that too. So I think it's just reconfiguring it. We don't wanna end up at a higher number necessarily. We just wanna reconfigure it, have some harder choices. Like I said, instead of, you know, maybe accounting for 3 directors to go, 1, that, or how that works. And then we do have the Special District Leadership Foundation. We do intend on getting their, the top, certificate for them. And we can come back and you can talk to, staff, and they'll give you a, you know, it's not necessary right now to give you a number.
Okay.
Okay, so can I move on from that category, or we
Yeah.
have?
Good.
Good, okay. Now, on the next section, Ricky, on page 32, I saw a SunGuard user group subscription. I thought that, I mean, didn't Tyler replace SunGuard? Are we still using something with SunGuard?
Yes, there's still a small portion of it that we're using, that's why that's.
Okay, all right, well, that's fine. I was just kind of confused when I saw that.
Yeah, the majority of that is gone.
Okay, and then towards the very bottom of the page, and I know there's some stuff here, and that looks like there's some stuff in public affairs, but looks like newspaper subscriptions. I mean, it looks like the Sun was about halfway down the page at $400, which to me seems a little low.
Yeah.
I'm sure it costs us more than that. Yeah,
To have our subscription?
to the Sun. I mean, I think the papers cost a whole lot more than that these days for the year.
No, they're
Fairly cheap. I actually think with this 124
I think
actual.
the Sun has like 99 cents.
Well, but I mean,
I think-
further down, there's 1,200 for Freedom News Group, so it's like,
Well, but the Sun, I think with the newspaper and this particular item, you know, if we're actually only using 124, I think our budget item, and I'm doing something I just accused you of, I mean, I think we should only budget $150 a year. There's no need to keep that much money going for the Sun, newspaper.
we can all get online subscriptions and we can reduce.
Well,
the budget.
well, yeah,
Pay
well,
that much to the shop?
I don't know why we paying this.
well, but
much.
like
I
I
have
said,
questions.
if you look a little further down, there's a lot more. It's on page 32, but my
Page
question
30, I don't know if we need to pay that much money.
I have
for
some
Sun
questions on
News.
30.
Well, yeah, well, my question specifically for Ricky is it's like, I understand that in like human resources, there's a section for recruitments for newspapers.
Yes.
But it seems like we had like the Sun in one section, and then a little further at the bottom, you have Rialto Record, Freedom News Groups. I mean, it seems like we got newspapers all over
Well,
the
that-
place,
but-
and I'm trying to
this is
just
for-
understand.
Yeah, this is the administration side of, piece of it, so
Okay, so-
for board, for administration,
Right.
for GM, AGM.
Well,
So it's
oh,
just
access to the subscriptions to the Sun.
Yes.
But we need to reduce the amount of money that this Sun subscription, $400 a year, we shouldn't be budgeting.
Well, but what's the Freedom News
I-
Group at the bottom that's
I
12?
have no idea what that is. I would assume you guys would know.
Bottom of page 32,
The
Freedom News Group.
Freedom News Group.
I mean,
Who's Freedom News Group?
that's what I want to
We
know.
haven't spent any
that?
money.
Mr. General Manager, who's the Freedom News Group?
So again,
I
I'm
don't-
just trying to understand why we have them in different places.
This
So
was
we can,
there
like-
this was there last year, so
Yeah,
what I
makes
did was
sense.
I continued on, I didn't wanna just remove it without, not.
I mean, the Rialto Record 500, I mean, again,
Well-
is this some kind of like I mean, it's under miscellaneous / recruitment, but like I said, we have recruitment under HR as well, so I'm trying to understand what this one is doing here.
Well, with the
I agree.
Rialto Worker and those newspapers, I don't know if we do our periodicals and other things, in that, is that why?
We usually have postings, required postings that has to be posted in
Public
local
notices.
newspapers, for bids and things of that nature, so that could be why.
Okay, well, if you could just
Yeah.
look into it, cause I just saw it throughout different
Yeah.
parts of the budget, so I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
Rialto Record is a locally based, independently, and they
Yes.
do a lot of stuff, and I'm comfortable with keeping it the way it is.
If I could just share briefly, the annual cost for a subscription to the Sun, daily delivery and online access is about $300. However, we can go ahead and reduce that and just do the online edition.
Yeah, we just need to do online, we're moving
In
online.
regards to the other newspapers, Freedom I'm not aware of.
Okay,
However, rather than eliminating it, we can ask, we do have public notices that we do need to post, and maybe we can take a look at, utilizing our local generally circulated papers.
yeah, I think there's.
That's
other-
okay, rather
there-
than eliminating it?
Well, but the Freedom News Group, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm
But-
not proposing eliminating these as much as just clarifying what they're
Right.
doing in these different sections.
Well, right, and,
I mean, if there's a purpose, yeah, and use local obviously first.
right, and there's, like I said, notice, newspapers that are a part of the requirement for circulation. I think it's important that are locally based newspapers versus, other investments like the Rialto Record or, Fontana Herald and things of that nature. That's very appropriate, for us to, cause we have to do we have to post and so forth. But, these, kind of excessive subscriptions to the Sun are not necessary.
I wasn't aware of these line items outside of public affairs budget, but I'll work with the CFO and then I'll run it by the general manager and the administration side. Just making sure that we make those changes.
Yeah. Okay.
That'd be great.
And then, right, cause there's like the IE Voice or other newspapers that.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Missing. So then, Ricky, going to page 33, and I know this is gonna be a sensitive subject, but, let's talk about legal expenses. I think 375,000 is most aspirational. I don't think it's gonna be realistic.
It probably won't, but, I'll share my thought process behind.
I mean, I would love for it to be that low, but,
Behind this,
and we have been trending down, believe it or not, compared to prior years, but I don't think we're gonna see it drop that much in this coming year.
and.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We can and we will.
Proactive.
But that
proactive.
basically only leaves us funding for only those three things, and you're saying that we're not gonna have any other legal?
I'm not saying that at all, I'm just saying that.
No, I was kinda directing
Oh,
that
okay.
President Hawkins. I mean, trust me, I would love for this to be true, I really would, I'm right there with you, but.
The legal expense is not gonna go down.
Well,
It's
I'm not.
Looking at what's on the table now
Well,
and what's
well, I
likely to
think we're
come,
getting in
it's not gonna go down.
right, and I think we're getting into a whole different conversation when we're talking about this. I'm fine in leaving it as is with the aspirational hope, and if it has to exceed this amount, we'll deal with it at that time. I'm, you know,
Okay.
praying and participating, you know.
Okay.
Pastor Brandon, you
Okay.
know, I'm bringing him back, that he's praying for some wisdom and judgment and good stewardship for the ratepayers' money this year.
Alright, so then I can move on then, so that was quicker than I thought.
Nice statement, but
There we go.
it's not as.
Alright, so the
Based in reality.
right smack in the middle of this page is something that really caught my attention, and that's $100,000 for, second phase strategic planning, Robert Mathis.
Well, oh, that's,
That, I don't,
Yeah,
I think that can go,
Okay.
I think that honestly, we have enough things at the board level for us to be working on this coming year. I don't think we're really gonna get to a second phase of strategic planning anytime soon,
okay.
in my opinion. But-
well, until
but,
we
I
get
mean-
an agent, at least until we get our, I don't know if we, yeah, I have nothing to say.
what is
regarding
this
what Greg said.
84,000 for?
That was last year.
That's what I'm asking. We gave Mathis $84,000,
Yeah,
Yeah,
84,000,
Yeah.
without any board approval.
Well, no, that's not exactly true, is it some of,
The board never approved.
I don't know if all of this 84,000 has come while I have been on the board, but I do remember 3 months ago, we voted to approve, a portion of bills, 3 months ago. But in regards to what Greg just said, that's something that we'll have to look at. I don't know if we're there yet for
I mean,
strategic planning.
I would like to, but I think it's probably more realistic to say that we'll get there in the following year.
so can I, make a recommendation? We can move that to the legal category.
Okay.
I think that's where it'll actually be spent probably.
Oh, my Lord.
Sorry, President, but
This is all.
I'm going off of historic trends here. Alright, so moving along, on general operations, page 35 of 60. Again, just looking at the historical trends for our operating supplies for gasoline. We're kind of in that 104 to 115,000, but we're budgeting 160,000.
Yeah, and that was, actually I reduced that a little bit as well.
You did, it didn't look like it.
We budgeted a little more because of the pandemic and more, folks were planning to take vehicles home and drive from home to their, work site, things of that nature, so that's
I
what
mean,
we.
cause I know one nice side effect actually of people having to work from home is that the demand for gasoline dropped, and so did the price of it. So, I
Yes,
mean,
but our field staff, will be going out and making calls and things, that's why.
again, just look at your historical trends. I mean, I think that we could cut this down a little and you'd still have plenty to work with.
Where you at, Greg?
Okay.
It's about 2/3 of the way down on page 35. We spent 115,000 so far this year. The year before is 104, and they're budgeting 160. I think that we could go to like 135, and you still have plenty to work with. And that shit saves a little bit of money here. But that's just, I'm throwing that out there.
Okay.
I just, on this page, Balcom, B-U-L-C-A-N, what do they supply us? I pass by them every day.
Who?
Vulcan.
Vulcan.
Material.
What do Does anybody know what they supply us?
I think it's all the stuff.
Street materials,
Yeah, it's all the
Street.
paving stuff.
paving,
All the paving stuff.
paving materials.
So the company right over here.
It's like the asphalt, all the
I
patching.
didn't know what, I pass by them all the time, but I don't know what they do.
Okay, so then moving along, okay, I'll do that, I'll do that. And this is just more of a question, not so much a suggestion, but on page 37 of 60, Ricky, notice that we're budgeting about, $46,000 more for Aqua JPIA general liability cost.
It's,
When we didn't really use a lot this year, it looks like, or pay a lot this year. So I'm just kind of trying to understand why the increase. It's about a third of the way down on page 37.
37. And what is it, Aqua JPIA?
General liability, we budgeted 230,000 last
Oh, that's
year.
the-
We've only
it's-
spent 70.
It's the, well, remember,
Yeah.
there are still activities that need to get posted here.
Correct.
It's not here.
But my question is, you're increasing from 230 last year to 276. So, I mean, have we received notices that our rates are going up?
That's the part of it.
Okay.
And because of activities, rates are increasing, we have a little more vehicles maybe. Those are, yeah.
Okay, I mean, if you're comfortable with that, but I just wanted to understand why the increase.
is anyone exploring getting, is it liability insurance? Not necessarily restored, but looking, we had a sign at the HR, but I know what's happened to HR in the last year or so. We had a sign at the HR. Has anybody assigned that yet? To go get us options on insurance? Robert, are you still with us? Robert? Let's bring that up because that's, Robert?
I'm sorry, I was off.
We understand. Robert, is anyone working on getting us insurance, employment insurance?
I don't believe anybody is actively working on that. I know that we had, I know somebody, I was working on it way back when, but I don't know.
Deborah was working on it some time ago,
So,
but I think that should be a priority though.
Mr. General Manager, we need someone, either you or the HR person assigned to explore getting those insurances.
We will follow up on that. In October or November of last year, we did get some quotes.
We did.
We did, but they were not followed up on.
Okay, all right.
Well, let's get it back and make sure it comes back to the HR committee.
Just to follow up on that, the Aqua JPIA general liability, that's actually the bill that we received, that's why that's the amount there.
Okay, so we already know what our bill is for next year?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, you'll all be happy that I'm gonna skip the next few, departments, but I wanna thank accounting, engineering, IT, good job, guys, cutting stuff. I didn't have any issues with what you provided. So see.
Virginia, we're gonna make you buy us lunch.
So I'm gonna skip ahead to HR, page 49. I don't know, Ricky, are you gonna speak on their behalf, or?
Yeah, I'll try to do it as best as I can.
Okay, well, kind of related to what I brought up earlier about the PPE supplies.
Yes.
I did see like there was a thing here for previously for COVID safety supplies, but then that was taken out. Was that because we put it in that other place?
Yeah, exactly. They were being used from general operations and purchasing. And we also had a category in HR, so I'm trying to condense those.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Again, I just didn't think it belonged in distribution.
Yeah.
Wherever you want it to be, that's fine. Now, a little further down under operating supplies miscellaneous, I think.
Wait, which page are you on?
I'm on page 50 of 60.
Oh, wait a minute before you go to 60. I'm at the 50. On 49, I see under the 5200 category, I see us, I just lost it. I see us having actual expenses of 22,000 for training. And we're going to the same 22,000?
We've,
He's requesting 31.
Where's the request for 31?
It's right next to the 22,000 number. There.
But we're going for 21.
No, no.
going for 30, we're requesting 31, it's a decrease of 20, almost 24 and a half.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. I was reading the wrong line.
Okay.
Okay, so again, kind of middle towards the bottom of page 50, under operating supplies miscellaneous, we have looks like jackets on here, quite an amount of them too, and in the past, we didn't really need that much. So, I mean, are these like safety jackets, or what's the?
They're jackets that, I may not have the complete answer, but I will research. Per HR, annually, at the end of the year, they go ahead and buy jackets for everybody.
I mean, because again, this current year, they've only spent 2,300.
Yeah.
The year before, okay, was 6,500 or so, but now you're asking for 10,200. So if you could maybe follow up.
I'll look at it, but we have more employees and the cost of, not that much, but I will definitely check.
No, if you could look at it and just kind of report back, because I mean, if it's justified, that's fine. I'm just, when I look at the historical trends, it just, like, where's this coming from? So,
I do have a question. Milestone safety celebrations, we budgeted 4,000, we only used 665. Is there a reason why we only use 665? That's us recognizing our employees for the work that they're doing and them being committed over a long time.
Yeah, I have to research that because I'm not certain.
I mean, I'm not saying necessarily to reduce the number.
Yeah.
But if we get an opportunity to recognize our employees, especially employees who've been here for a long time, I want to make sure that we're actually doing that.
Agreed.
Yes.
I know we used to have, employee recognition at the end of the year, so maybe that's why.
Right, and I'm
it's-
seeing here, we didn't, we budgeted 20,000 for the gift card. I'm like, I'm not gonna get into everything, but our, employees have done a great job. They muscled through some really challenging times, and it's not much, but if we're supposed to be recognizing them and they're supposed to receive these things and we budgeted, I do want to make sure that we're utilizing it. Not saying cut it or anything like that, but especially to our long time, employees who've been here 10, 20 years, they're supposed to get their pen or their flowers or whatever they're supposed to get, give it to them, and I want to make sure that they're getting it. So I guess that's something to follow up, Mr. GM, HR person, make sure that we're doing something, because we shouldn't, we budgeted the money and we need to have our employees recognize what they're doing and being committed to West Valley.
So Ricky, on the, towards the top of page 51, there's another line item for onboarding shirts and jackets, and just tie into the previous one I brought up, if you can also double check with Martine on that, because we have jackets and shirts up there, and then we didn't have a onboarding shirts and jackets
So
here.
the onboarding is when we have new employees coming on board.
Yeah.
So we try to keep that in a separate bucket versus
Correct.
the purchase for.
And again, I don't have an issue there, but we're asking for a big increase over here, so if you could just double check all those numbers with him is all I'm asking for.
That actually decreased.
Yeah.
What is this
Okay.
service?
I will look into that.
Yeah.
What's this service skills program? I guess there's no budget in it. Okay, never mind.
And then kind of towards the end there on page 51, I wanted to ask about this emergency response plan update. We budgeted 105,000 last year. It looks like we spent about 47,000 on it, and we're asking for another 105,000 this year.
I will let general manager address that.
I didn't put this in the budget, but I understand why it's there.
Yeah.
First of all, let me address the, emergency plan. That is due this month. We're still waiting on the state, and I've been pressing Daniel to push the state to get the document out.
But I thought we had, that he had developed a plan.
Yeah, but it has to be approved by the state, and that's where it's at. So I've been pressing him to get that done. Going forward, we don't
How
need
much have
money
we
for
paid
that.
him?
It looks like about 47.
No, it's more than that, it's more than that.
It's more than that.
It's definitely more than that.
It's more than that because it's been tracked in different areas, so.
Yeah. But
Well,
the
I
thing
guess,
is,
I guess the question is, do we need another 105,000 here?
So, going forward, we have to do, per Cal EPA, and this doesn't have to be with Daniel, but with somebody, we have to do an assessment of the district, or,
All I have to say, we're paying an awful lot to get an email update every day. But prior to getting his update, I've gotten updates from the county and the state. Why we paying?
and that's going away. This money, I was not consulted about this, but this money would not be used for that going forward. It will be used to meet EPA requirements for us to assess our district, determine its vulnerability. It's called vulnerability and resiliency assessment.
Right.
But I thought that's what he was doing.
That's what,
No.
I thought that he was doing both the plan and the assessment.
This, what I'm talking about is a new law that's gone into effect, and he was not working on the new law.
Okay, so where did we get the 105,000, if it's a new law, where did we get the rationale for?
Well, they just
Oh,
carried it over.
I used the number from last year.
Okay.
So the
but-
question is, how much would an assessment to comply with the new law actually
And
cost?
that's why we have to do an RFQ to get that done.
Okay, well, if,
Can we, I mean, it's.
so
ballpark we
can
do?
we, right, so is it
50,000?
fair to,
Just
yeah,
having the firms,
50,000, so is it fair to,
charge over $100,000.
is it, because this is an
I
assigned,
don't wanna use that.
Clarence, Mr. General Manager, this isn't assigned to any individual's contract, it's just saying if we need this assessment,
Yeah.
this is how much we're putting in the budget for.
Right.
Okay, so can we, for the sake and purposes of exploring more, and I don't wanna hamstring you, and I mean, of course, and I think, I understand what Greg is getting at, and we don't have enough information, it's 50,000,
75, I mean.
75, something, I mean, where I'm 50.
Yeah.
50,000 enough to budget, and if you need more, you can come back to the board, but right now, I don't understand why exactly we will budget 105,000.
We've had some firms talk to us because everybody's out there because of the law, the new law, trying to contact you and get you. And so some of them are saying like 150,000 like that. But I know we can get it for cheaper than that. These houses are the major houses, major firms from across the nation. They have much more overhead. We can get somebody, I'm sure, that's locally qualified.
Well, let's just, like I said, let's put 50,000, and if you need some more,
Right.
come on back, but yeah.
Yeah, once you do the RFQ, then we'll know.
We'll have a better picture, but right now in this budget, with other priorities that are clearer as far as our need and what we need to do, I don't think that.
okay, in this area is how much, and I can't find it, how much did we pay to Fontana, Chamber of Commerce last year? Not the dues, I'm talking about, we sponsored an event for the Fontana Chamber of Commerce. We were the sponsors, or we're not. And then we sponsored,
I think Nassim might be able to, Nassim,
Carl, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here, go ahead.
Did we sponsor a public safety event for the city of Fontana last year?
Not that I'm aware of. I think all we did in Fontana was maybe a Relay for Life, cancer sponsor. I think that was it as far as I'm aware of. I don't think there's anything, anything else that I can.
But we didn't sponsor anything for the Chamber of Commerce, the annual thing. It listed us as a sponsor. I'm not seeing it here.
Yes, hello, Director Young, Dr. Young, and Vice President Crowther. I believe we did sponsor for something.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and check what it was.
There was some event with the tables. I didn't.
I don't remember
But it was like
exactly which one it was.
$10,000 or something like that. Where we had people from the district show up and sat at a table.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the event.
I don't remember the event that was, but I believe we did.
Well, the
sponsor.
auditors, the state auditors
Right.
are bringing it up.
Right.
I mean,
So if it's not here, it's not here.
okay.
I don't see it.
Let me ask this about Lieber Cassidy and Whitmore here under miscellaneous employee wellness, this investigative services. We're not proposing any new money, but we spent $25,000 for them to do investigations this year?
Legal Cassidy?
I don't know.
I don't know anything about it.
Is that encumbrances, if I understand it right, is what we,
I believe that was the prior year, talking with the CFO. It wasn't this current year, it was the prior year.
I think it was 18-19. That's why it was mentioned in the state controller's report.
okay, oh, for the
Fontana,
oh, okay. What about Lieber?
but I can look into that.
Legal Cassidy, I don't know anything about that. Legal Cassidy.
Lever Cassidy, that's the legal
Yeah,
firm,
but
but we're not
I've seen-
requesting any budget
I've
for
seen
that.
them, yeah, in 3 places. We have a subscription service, we have, and that's all fine. I understand the memberships and little, the memberships and what we have. But I was just making sure that I don't think we had to do investigations and stuff.
No, they would come over and train our
Training.
supervisors and
I saw that
staff
in the budget already.
Yeah.
This doesn't appear to be.
They would do
That's
training
investigative.
at the
At
Sierra Club, Sierra,
Boys.
Yeah, but this is
Yeah.
for investigative service.
yeah, there's nothing needed for now.
Okay, alright. Okay.
Alright, next up I wanna do public affairs, so Ms. Ignition can
That's
come
what
back.
I-
Page 53. So, Ms. Eden, first of all, if we can get a little more detail, it looks like we kind of just grouped up a lot of things. I would really like to see it broken down a little bit more, as it had been done last year. One thing which I want to add though, under training, if we can also make sure that we list out training for conservation, in addition to the writing and other training you have in mind, but there's a lot of training out there which we can get on the conservation side, and I don't want to miss out on that.
It is in there, Director Young. I have it listed as water use efficiency.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if you can.
Conservation specific, I can definitely do that.
Well, again, the one which I got, it just had one little line here that just said public affairs, social media, digital writing, transparency, compliance, communication training for district staff.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, okay.
Yeah, and then I see here for the safety booths, public affairs. You need safety booths every year?
Yeah, one of the things is,
You guys already
working with,
bought them last year, when you guys gonna need to buy them again?
that's per an HR policy.
So
That's
you guys,
something-
wait, hold on.
We don't-
You
it's
guys
not-
buy boots every year?
We've only bought one pair. Per the HR policy, and this is something that can be revisited.
No, I'm just saying that this,
Is
okay,
it
you
boots
bought
or-
one pair, you bought a $400 pair
External
of boots?
affairs?
Excuse me?
External affairs get boots?
Yes, we do get a pair of boots when,
Why do you need boots?
that's in discussing with human resources and risk management.
No, I'm
No.
saying from your standpoint, why do your department need boots?
When they go out to events and they set up, for example, a booth, they're moving
Okay.
stuff around. If,
But-
from a liability standpoint, it was recommended from human resources to purchase
Well,
boots for them.
They don't have boots already?
They do have a pair of boots.
So why are we putting another
Because
$600 for boots?
based on the policy of the district is that, employees that go into the field are given $200 a year for boots.
Wait.
That's
Our
one.
policy is we give, we're not reimbursing, so.
No, we don't give them.
So wait,
Sorry.
hold on, so just because you're supposedly going into the field every year, no matter if it's a need or not, you just get a $200 check?
You don't get a $200 check. You get a voucher. You get a voucher, to, different vendors that we have an agreement with, Boot Barn and Red Wings, to get a pair of boots, safety boots. And they're limited.
This isn't operation, when operations ask for boots, you see, I didn't ask any questions, but when we have public affairs.
So if I go out in the field
I
for
want
the
to see the
district,
receipt of
I
what,
get a pair of
cause I
boots.
see a lot of
This-
loafers and
this
public
is-
affairs, I don't see boots, I see loafers and driver shoes.
Well, there are, one of the things that you may not be aware of,
I don't think you should
is.
try to justify that.
No, and that's fine. This is,
Politically, I think you should move on.
we could take it out if that's the direction of the board. And the reason why we were doing this is that's the direction of
Move
HR.
on to something
Something
else.
else.
That's fine.
Well,
Move on.
yeah, but what I would suggest is $1,000 here because, because it also includes the
Uniforms.
shirts.
Right.
And you do use a little bit, but I think $1,000 covers you for both boots and shirts.
I don't go for that.
Yeah.
Well, on the shirt side, we do use those when people do go out to events, that we do use.
Yeah, but you had 1,700 and you
No,
only
and that's
spent
fine.
305.
We can go ahead and reduce it down to 1,000.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Alright, and then for, in the next section for postage and shipping, I did have a question as far as the miscellaneous postage for various mailers. I mean, I don't think I guess we do some, but you had a $15,000 budget last year and you used about 9,300, but you're asking for 1,200. It's at the very bottom of page 53.
53.
So I was just kind of wondering, I mean, it's a little less than last year, which is good, but still
We haven't been able to, do as much, outreach and postage. That's the honest truth.
okay.
And, yeah.
All right, so then kind of continuing on to the next category, which is the printing cost. You're asking for 45,000, when this year it looks like we only spent about a little under 12,000 so far. And again, I would like to see this broken down a little bit more specifically as far, because you just put one line item for 45,000.
Yeah, I can go ahead and provide a justification.
Yeah, because just kind of looking at what you did last year, I mean, it's like, okay, you spent about 4,000 or so, maybe I give you 5,000 for the calendar. You had 10,000 for quarterly newsletters, you only spent 700.
We haven't done any newsletters.
Well,
That's exact, we're boosting up, we're
Well,
putting
and like I
together.
said, I have no problem giving you, but again, I just need to see a little more details here because
Yeah.
based on what you did this year, I'm a little leery about basically 280% increase in this section.
And part of that also is it comes from our assessment that was done and different recommendations that we're looking at implementing. So but I'll provide the detailed justification that you're looking at, that you're looking for, and make sure that that's available to the board.
No, work with Ricky so that we can get that put in there, cause I would kinda like to see that broken down a little more. Because again, if that's part of the assessment and direction that the committee wants to go in, I'm fine with it, but I need to see a little more detail there. As to where that's allocated.
Can we move
Wait,
to,
for what, for the?
For all these printing costs, cause it's just,
printing cost?
yeah, cause I wanna see it broken down a little more, cause it's a 280% increase over last year.
Okay.
In that section.
And part of that also is we are, in the proposed budget is to eliminate the HydroStem. I think it's about $99,650. So in that response, that task, responsibility is coming into our department. So we're also,
And that's affecting your printing costs?
yeah, depending on what kind of communication and materials we're gonna provide to local schools, yes.
Well, I thought that we were eliminating that altogether.
No, the responsibilities are coming into our department.
No,
But-
I thought that we eliminated that, like, even last year in the mid-year.
What?
The hydrostat.
The hydrostatic.
It carried through, it carried.
Yeah, but we're not carrying it through now, going into this one.
If, you know, it's not, continuing.
But when we had talked, in the discussion that, my understanding was to assign it, with the general manager was assigning the responsibilities,
Yes.
Yeah, that was earlier
Public
this year,
affairs,
that was earlier this year, but this is a new budget.
I'm not aware of that conversation that was had, so.
Yeah, no, for the new budget, it's not in there.
Okay.
We're not doing that.
Okay, so
Um,
let me, can I move to something else in the same area?
Yeah, I mean, I still have other stuff, but go ahead.
Let's get some clarification on these chamber dues.
Yeah.
Can we pay them or can we not?
On chamber dues, we can't pay them.
They're fine, it was I think,
It was
the
those,
dues were fine,
those
it was
big
the,
$10,000 gifts that were,
No,
there it is.
to underwrite different programs.
if I,
So we all right on the dues? Because I got a different message from you than I got from the GM. So
Well, I think we tasked our general counsel with that, and then he'll advise us. Mr. General Counsel?
Sequoia.
Yep, President, I did write that down. I know that was raised, I think, as well. So we'll find out whether or not we can spend that money on sponsorships
Versus
and whether or
just
not
dues.
we can,
Alright,
no, memberships.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So then, Naseem, you had $6,000 down for the Aqua Fall Conference. Well, no, actually, I'm sorry, again, this is where the left doesn't match the right, but you had down for conferences. Now, this year you only spent about 3,600 on conferences. So, you're requesting 6,000 for this?
yeah, we're hoping, our goal is, over the past few months, is, focusing, having put a lot of time into addressing media inquiries, so now we can be more proactive in terms of, actually, doing more of the outreach, making sure our ratepayers are more informed, and doing more training, because we weren't able to do everything we needed to do in this past current year. And I think that's also a discussion we had during the mid-year.
So how about 5? I'll give you 5. Would that work?
It's up to the board.
Or if it's 6, I think 6. We'll.
Okay, fine, we can keep it 6.
They did cut out a lot of stuff, okay.
Well, now we get down to miscellaneous dues and subscriptions, which as a category went up 424%. And, first of all, this, email distribution, you're proposing almost $10,000. And last year, you only spent about $1,000 on email communication, so that's
So, actually, this is
is
part
this
of,
something which needs to be broken down a little more?
no, this is actually for hosting our website.
No, the website's the next line, which I haven't
You're
got
looking at
to.
9,800?
Wait, which page are you
Well,
on?
No,
Page
98.
54, gentlemen.
Okay.
We're about on 54.
It's about 2/3 of the way down. $9,820 is the request. Last year on email communications,
I'm lost. Find me up here.
page 54, 2/3 of the way down, you'll see a line
It says
that,
what?
that's on the left, it says email communications. On the right, it says email distribution, stock images, digital subscriptions.
If I were to
It's
provide.
right here,
I think I'd go back and provide a more detailed,
right here,
a detailed layout to,
I'm on a different page. What page? is it?
54. Yeah. So again, I don't know if you maybe need to break
Yeah.
this down a little bit more, but.
yes, I can go ahead and do that. For example, our
Yeah.
constant contact email distribution is about $2,500, I believe, a year.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and break that down for the next meeting. I
Yeah,
apologize.
that'd
But
be
this
helpful.
okay, but the email communication, it consists of the constant contact.
Correct.
What else does it consist of?
The stock images that we need for our brochures that we do develop, it's a subscription service, the stock photos, as well as video stock images that we need for videos that we're beginning to create with the board president. as well as the other board members as well, that we're looking at,
But I
looking
can't
at
imagine that between those two things, it costs $10,000.
Oh, you'd be surprised it is. Well, that's just two things, but we also have digital, other.
Okay, yeah, if you could break that down.
I'll break it down.
Cause I do need to see what that looks like.
Of course.
Now, as far as the website hosting, and this is just kind of a question in general, is this something which should be allocated to your department, or should this be something to general operations or IT?
Just
The hosting of the website, because that's the whole district's website, it's not just
we could go ahead and reassign that to IT.
Well, but it's not really so much, I think, the question to you is maybe more to Ricky, that, to me, I'm like, why is the website cost being put here and not either under general operations or, IT?
And yes, that's a service for the entire district, and I would recommend that we move it to the IT.
Okay,
area.
yeah, no, if you could do that, that would make that particular line not as dramatic, too. So then going down to page 55.
No, let's stay on 54 a minute.
Okay,
I hope I'm reading this wrong. It says contract to cover 25 K-12 programs and 8 adults. We budgeted for $25,000, and we're requesting $150,000.
That's actually, Ricky, go ahead.
Sorry. So, the left side description was for last year's request. The right side is for this year.
it
The
doesn't.
150 is for federal lobbyists.
How much did
Okay,
they actually,
well,
wait, hold on, can I, okay.
Go.
How much did they spend last year? Is this true that I think this part has to be redone, Ricky, because it's not.
Well, but that's what I'm
This-
saying,
this-
the left and the right need
Right.
to match.
Yeah, this doesn't,
Yeah, because the federal lobbyist is on the second line on the left, but it's on the first line on the right.
yeah.
And so,
Okay, we'll look at that and make sure that those adjustments are made.
Okay, how much did we spend on the calendar contest? Is this what this is?
The calendar contest was about $10,000.
Huh?
The calendar contest was about 10,000.
They need to
Okay,
fix
that's
Yeah.
about right, but this is not lining
That's
up.
not like,
Yeah, we'll go ahead and redo that. Apologize.
You see that, Ricky?
Yeah.
yeah, well, your calendar was about, cause it's there at the top of the page, Cliff, on 54. We had 3,400 and then another 4,200 in encumbrances, so,
Okay.
you know.
I think that's a good contest for the district. For the kids in our district, I just hope that we don't play games with who wins.
Hold on.
One year we did.
So,
Just so you're aware, the staff and the board members, we line it all up in here in the hallway and everyone votes, so.
no,
The board members should vote.
They do, we provide.
One year the staff decided, we're gonna make the decisions, they don't know what they're doing. That was, what's the young lady's name? I shouldn't mention
okay,
names.
all right, so, all right, that's fine.
So, can I go to page 55 now, or?
I'm okay.
Well, let's see, but they're different ones there on the right-hand side. So on page 55, Naseem, third item down on that page is a website redesign, $91,640.
You know what, Greg, I mean, yeah.
Didn't we just do a new website?
We need to-
Yeah, and we've been having
Our
significant
committee
issues.
needs to discuss that.
No, I'm not talking, well, as far as what we're gonna do next, but this section right here, 54, like 5201, miscellaneous dues, subscription, going down, like that needs to be reworked. That section needs to be reworked.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, yeah, as far as the
Okay,
left and the
that's all
right
I was
match.
saying. I didn't.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as this, website redesign, I mean, we have a new website, you know, so it's like, why do we need $91,000?
Greg, the committee needs to discuss that. And if we need funding, we'll come back to you. But the committee needs to discuss.
So we can take it out for now and you guys will bring it back to us, or what do you wanna do?
Necessary, yes, we need to have a real discussion in our committee about that, what we wanna do, who's gonna do it, and how much, a reasonable price for it. We have not done that, and we will do that.
So what is it you're saying? So take it out or leave it in?
We're gonna be coming back with something, we just don't know what.
Well, I would recommend that if we are gonna come back with something during this budget year, is to leave something there, because, if we take it out, then.
What's in there now?
$91,640.
No, just put about $35,000, $40,000 in there. That, we're not gonna go spend $91,000 on a website. We don't know what we want yet, and who we want to do it, and these companies keep raising the price. You know?
I just wanna have something in just in case we.
Okay, no, we don't know.
Okay.
And then just for transparency purposes, on that price, it was based on an RFP, or an RFP that was done, in which we did open it for several weeks, so. But that's, if it's a direction on the board that we can wait off, that's fine.
Yeah, we can wait. Is the website falling apart?
Yes.
Falling apart?
Yeah,
But it's not what we desire right the first time, there's a difference.
No, we've actually gone down. In fact, we went down last, this week.
Well, hold
We'll
on.
discuss that in committee.
Now, hold on though, I mean, you know, it's like, I'm not on the committee and I haven't been for a while, but it's like, we spent a lot of money on getting this new website, so what y'all are basically alluding to is that we spent a lot of money and it's worthless now? I mean,
I'm not sure if that's what they're saying, I don't think.
or that it's crashing, I mean, it's like, so did
Well,
we get taken to the
crashing,
cleaners? I mean, what
that's the whole-
happened?
Well, I put it like this, I agree with this. I agree with our CFO, we need to leave some money in there. However, I think that we have to, in the committee, figure out where we're gonna move forward as far as getting a new website, what's it gonna look like.
I have no issue with the committee taking a look at it, Mr.
The
President.
website isn't the greatest.
I am just more trying to understand that this is the first time I've seen any discussion of we need to change our new website to something else.
No,
Wait,
no, that's not true. External Affairs has come to try this. This isn't the first time they've tried to get this, budget item and get us to approve a certain amount of, but they've tried at least twice.
I held them
remember
up.
since I've
The
been
last
here.
time I held them up.
And they've tried to put something forward in front of the full board
Well,
twice, it just, every time it's come up, it's.
Yeah, I do not recall that. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys may have stopped it before it got to me, but again, when I saw website redesign, that's new information to me.
Okay, let's be honest.
Again, I'm just trying to understand
Okay,
it.
but
Greg,
we're not ready to, we're gonna figure that piece out, we're saying
Well,
that
the
what
committee
they're
is
asking for
not-
right now, yeah.
The committee's not ready to put anything forward.
That's
right
fine.
now.
I'm just.
But I agree
That's fine.
with, the CFO that we should have something in there.
Okay,
We may come back for less or for more.
all right, so
But the
moving,
website has been a sticky issue.
all right.
We had two young ladies who decided they knew
No,
everything, I'm gonna say it.
No,
We had two young ladies.
We don't want our litigation like you, right.
All right,
come
can
on.
I go to sponsorships? Of course. Okay.
I guess you could predict where
Let me
it's
go to
going.
sponsorships before we get into any more
You
trouble
gonna
here.
make sure.
The president asked me to be
We
quiet.
can go ahead and reduce
About
that.
I will be quiet this
About
one
wherever
time.
this comment is going, I mean, we're trying to maintain our.
Okay, so sponsorships. So the first one, which we have on there is the solar challenge, which I know we've done for a very long time.
Right.
My question is why the increase to 15,000?
Because we're working on trying to get Bloomington High School to join.
Okay,
They don't have a program.
The high's closing, isn't
Bloomington.
Is that
Christian.
high school?
Bloomington Christian.
Oh, no, Bloomington Christian is closing.
No, he's talking about Bloomington High School, okay. But again, we spent
it?
3,500 last year, so if we were adding Bloomington High to about the same amount, that'd be 7,000, right?
Right, but being a new program, we expect that there'll be some additional costs incurred on that.
Up to 15,000?
No, no, we can go ahead and reduce that.
Okay.
How about, would you, 10,000 or 8,000?
Well, I mean, you take a look at it, but I'm just,
I'll come back.
I mean, again, I'm just trying to understand increases here. Now, as far as the other sponsorships, I would like to see a breakout as much as you can of ones which you might already anticipate.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand some of them you may not know at this point, but you know, obviously 32,500 is quite a bit, and last year you only spent 1,400. And we gave you the same amount last year. So I'm a little leery to give that much again, but if you can give me a list of ones which you already are considering, that would be most helpful.
Yeah, and then we'll also look at cutting that as well.
Okay, thank you. And then,
When you're on 56,
yeah, no, I'm still in 55. You tripled the amount for community town halls. We had 5,000 last year, we didn't spend any of it, now we're asking for 15,000?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're looking at building on with our strategic communications plan that'll be coming to the board in the next month or two. And it'll be
You really
instituting.
need to triple what you had from last year that you didn't spend a dime on?
Like I said, we were quite busy on media inquiries that we weren't able to actually conduct those, so.
Well, okay, well, let's see.
I mean,
Work
I'm-
with 10 and let's see if you guys can work with 10 and be all right.
Yeah, I mean, just for this entire category, you're asking for 57,000, we gave you 12 last year, and you barely spent about half.
I understand, like I said, I'm looking at cutting some of these as well.
Okay, all right, yeah, and more of a breakdown would be.
Of course.
helpful. All right, great, thank you, and then, I have a question on page 56, which is grants and rebates. I don't know if, Ricky or who wants to speak to this page.
I have some questions on this page, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, there isn't much budgeted on here, but we did budget 41,000 for all conservation rebates, and I would, again, kind of like to see something a little more broken down here, kind of like we had done in previous years, because there's lots of different rebates out there.
But we only used $9,000.
Oh, 9,000.
Yeah,
$9,000.
I agree.
Why are we budgeting
41,000?
41,000?
So that's why I
That's a
would,
big.
yeah, that's a big difference.
9,000.
I'll put like this, I would say this, and this is a question for Mr. Faruqi, is in regard to his staff and how things are working, I think we have a report regarding public affairs and what was going on and what wasn't going on. And Mr. Faruqi has the tools necessary and the staff necessary to complete the job. If they need, again, I don't wanna beat a dead drum, it's incumbent on him as the manager of that to work with his staff to actually have a plan of action and implement that plan of action, and if they need additional skills or anything else to put it in place. So hopefully with a bit of hope and optimism, Mr. Faruqi can work with his staff to be able to have programs that are beneficial to the community, and that they know about it. And I think under the last year or 2 years, it really hasn't been clear.
No, and I would agree that I'm hopeful that with better direction and more engagement, especially on the conservation side, we can see more usage in the rebates, but I think from a budgetary standpoint, we really need to separate that out, because each of these are different types of rebates, and we do need to assign, I think, a dollar amount to each of those. Just for our own tracking purposes, but yeah, I'm not sure if necessarily we need the full 41,000. That's why I think having a little more detail would give us a little better guidance. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I mean, I am hopeful that we can use more than, or do more with rebates than the 9,000 we did last year.
I think I'm reading wrong. What are you requesting in this area?
Grant writing.
Not the grant writing.
No,
just
the 41,000 for all
41,000,
rebate
yeah.
program, or all conservation rebates, but it needs to be split out.
Alright, and then the grant writing, federal and state, you guys aren't requesting anything. Does this I'm trying to understand this category in relation to what's supposed to happen, that we're gonna have federal lobbyists, we are potentially getting the state lobbyists, a concern about us writing for grants, and there's no money allocated here. and I'm trying to understand how all that's supposed to work together. Does somebody wanna speak to that, because I don't. In this area, again, I'm feeling, and I don't know if that's the general manager or whoever, or Mr. Rookie, I feel that it is indicative of not having a clear plan, goals, and objectives, and it's just looking, I mean, I don't wanna go through 2020 with that.
You know, one of the thoughts that we did touch on this morning, we didn't finish the discussion, where should our grant operation really be? Should it be off by itself, wandering around, or should it be in one of what I consider our technical departments? Because if we're gonna do grants for water agency, you need some technical capability. And maybe it shouldn't be in public affairs, maybe it should be over with Joanne or with Linda, because those are the areas that know what we do as a water agency and what we're planning to do, rather than all by itself somewhere.
I don't necessarily disagree, I just want the general manager and, Mr. Faruqi to come back with a much clearer picture with how are they seeing that this federal, state grants, how is all that gonna work? Because it's not clear right now, it hasn't been clear since I've been here, and when I look at the way that these budget requests is going on, it's not clear right now. And not to say that it can't be housed in engineering or operations, or somewhere else, but we need it, it's not clear. And because even if you have a lobby, federal or state, and then you don't have any grant writer, or any grant support to connect it, and the staff assigned, then you don't really, you just have a bill you're paying every month, you don't have, so, Mr. General Manager Faruqi, yeah, we don't wanna talk about that, and what that looks like. To clear it up, hopefully by next Friday, we'll have a clear picture.
All right, so that pretty much brings me to the end on page 60, which,
Getting out an hour early?
which, I tried to go as fast as I could, I really did. So again, just, kind of to conclude, and we've kind of given you some recommendations and things to chew back on, Ricky, but, obviously, I think anything we can do to up that debt coverage ratio is extremely critical, especially again, since we are looking to possibly be going out for bonds a year from now for Romer. And if we break our bond covenant this year, that's gonna create a whole lot of problems for us at that point.
Before we wrap up, Linda, can you give us the timeline of what you expect on the Roma, expansion? And the budget,
Okay.
Can you just?
It's actually kind of in your capital.
It's,
CIP.
right, and we come back up from our pay, cause we were ready.
But we are we allocating any money to it right here?
No, we're just doing design right now, but as Linda.
I need to explain. What design, how much design is expected to cost, how much do we expect the whole project to cost? I've heard it in bits and pieces, but I haven't heard it together.
Okay, Linda Judas, the Engineering Services Manager. We have just issued a professional services agreement for $884,000 for a consultant to help us with the 30% design and to prepare an RFP for the design build consulting contracting firm. So we will be doing 30% design and all of those other things. CEQA will be doing all the upfront work. That'll take us 8 to 12 months. At that point, they'll also identify what treatment that we would be using. So they'll give us all sorts of different information and what phasing the project would look like and how those construction costs. So at that point, we'll also have a better understanding of the cost of the project.
And then that's about what, 8 to 12 months period?
Yes.
And then we, at that point, we have a proposal that we need to go out and seek funds for.
Yes.
Okay, all right, and that's funded in the CPI budget.
Yeah, we've already funded this design portion, but what the point I was trying to make is that, you know, in the next year or so, we need to come up with, you know, how are we gonna fund potentially upwards of a $70 million project.
Well, right,
And we're most certainly probably gonna have to do outside financing for that, in which case our bond covenants is extremely critical.
Okay, that's what I need, I didn't understand all the connections.
Right, and so, I think you have a nice list over there, Ricky. But I think, you know, it's not a whole lot of additions, it's more subtraction than addition, so that should be nice for a CFO when you're dealing with these elected officials.
Oh, yeah.
But it's more work, so.
I do have my list, and one thing I want to add to the discussion is our OPEB cost, which is the other post-employee benefit cost, is not included because I don't know what that number is yet. I'm hoping to have that figure for you guys by Friday, if I can. So that's something to consider. But I will do all of the calculations that's asked of me here. I will make the adjustments on a summary sheet so we can see what the impact is to our bottom line, and then come back and have a discussion. If you allow me, I would like to take a minute to say thank you to the departments, the managers, staff, to help with this reduction. I know it was a change, and I really I demanded a lot, and I want to say that I really appreciate it, that you all came through and contributed to the cause. To my staff, I couldn't have done this without my staff, my finance manager. We spent tremendous amount of time and weekends working on this, so I want to say thank you to him. Thanks to the board for your leadership and direction, and thanks to GM for his guidance and input regarding this. So just wanted to add that I really appreciate all of the efforts, the collective efforts to get this in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
We got another issue to deal with. Clarence is supposed to bring us a report on this joining the Mayor's Association.
Okay, yeah. Well, I thought we went.
We put it on to today.
Yeah, but Dr. Young, we just discussed it, whether we're gonna deal with it in the years going forward.
I'm talking about history. How did we come about spending $25,000 for a membership in a national organization when the board didn't even come before the board? But now, you can correct me, did it come before the board or not?
It did not come before the board.
Yeah, let me try it.
Well, hold on.
Mike, you guys
No, first, hold on, everyone, hold on. We've just had, 4 hours of meeting, on this topic. You know, we did discuss that in the framework of, hold on now, Dr. Young.
Mr. President, you're denying me a right to ask questions. Yes, you are. I want to have answers to this.
I think at the last meeting, he said that he did it under his authority and not at, with the vote.
Why don't you let him speak for himself?
Let's
answer these
Dr.
questions.
Taylor speak, let Dr. Taylor speak, he's about to speak.
No, I didn't ask for Dr. Taylor to speak, I asked for the general managers.
But you can speak, let Dr. Taylor speak, and.
I am gonna speak, Clifford, I've been silent listening to you all.
Well, Taylor, speak. Speak of you wasting ratepayers' money, so why don't you speak of that?
I'm gonna tell you how it came about, okay? You'll listen. When we were in Hawaii at the National Mayor's Conference, at the request and behest of the mayor of the city of Rialto, giving our presentation, we were introduced to the gentleman.
And she recommended very strongly and highly that it would be beneficial to the water district in terms of what our goal is if we were to join the organization. So at that time, the executive committee, under the authority, signing authority of the general manager, recommended to the general manager that we join the organization. And that's how it came about, and that's what we did.
So,
Unfortunately for you, during these times, you didn't attend the meeting, so you weren't around to know that we had joined the organization.
Mr. Taylor, at what point?
Okay.
No,
But-
will you let me speak? You let everybody else speak. May I speak? May I have to speak?
But, yes, you can
At
speak,
what
but-
time
but
did
I'm
the
gonna-
board
I'm
of,
gonna let you guys know, because we had this conversation, I've literally heard everything that I just heard right now, earlier during this 4-hour meeting, and so, I know there's some disagreement, I think that's why, I know during the last 6 months or so, since I've been on the board, if the general manager does exercise that authority, he comes to the president and we do something slightly different. The policy and practice and authority in place at that time, he was permitted to do that. Now, if it came up again now, it would be a slightly different process. That was one of the first reforms. So to belabor the point about this situation, when it's been explained twice today,
Mr. President, Mr. President, what you just concluded is absolutely wrong. The policies that existed, and he was asking us to join a national organization, that should have been brought to the board of directors.
Okay.
And he did not do that.
Okay.
You know what you had? You had a majority of the board of directors making decisions without including the rest. It should have been brought to the board of directors.
Thank you. I think at this point, I think we're motioning. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, guys.
You denied me my right.
I didn't.
Yes, you did. I didn't finish. He didn't answer the
Meeting
question.
adjourned. Thank you.
All I can say is for the last 6 months, there hasn't been anything like that. We have a